The oldest permanent road racing circuit in the United States of America hosts the newest of charity races, as some of the world's best sim racers gather to compete in a race of the ages, a race of competitiveness, and a race to help make wishes come true. As we welcome you to the Sebring International Raceway, located in Florida, in center between Orlando, Tampa, and the luxurious city of Miami. It hosts the race of the decade, Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race presented by the My Opinion and therefore Fact Esports Network. All coverage today is on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network around the 5.9 kilometer, 3.7 mile layout of Sebring. 17 turns out there on the racetrack, 6 of those to the left, the other 11 to the right, and that will challenge the drivers today for 2 hours and 40 minutes of endurance racing action. Minimal elevation change out there as well, and we are using the international course layout with partly cloudy skies to also challenge our all-star field out here today. Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Simon on hand in the commentary booth alongside Nolan Rampel. Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production. Nolan, here we are now, ready for the race of the decade. It's a great charity race, a race for a good cause, and it's good to be in the commentary booth ready to begin action as we're currently in qualifying.
I can certainly agree there. I can't wait for this race. Sebring is it's just one of those tracks that it's hard to get right, especially in turns like the Sunset Bend and Turn 1. It's such a difficult track, but that's what makes it so fun to watch. Every race I've watched here has just been non-stop entertainment, and I'm seriously hoping that we're going to be getting that same kind of a result in this charity race here today.
The Sebring circuit itself, as we see the qualifying times on the screen as well, the Sebring circuit itself is quite challenging. Lots of bumps out there. We'll talk about the setup challenges throughout the event later today. But as you can see, the teams will be based on it, and how this event format will work here today, Nolan, is each team has an all-star driver, and dependent on the donations, and they're randomly paired with one of those all-star drivers, a charity runner will be in the field as well. So we have a very mixed bag of drivers out here racing today.
A mixed batch indeed. You've got drivers like Martin Kroenke that are going to start it in here. Martin Kroenke, of course, won the iRacing World Grand Prix Championship Series this year. You got other people like David Haynes, Connery Maddock that are also joining the grid today in your GTE field. You got a lot of people that are in this race, and some of them are big names, some of them not so much. We got, of course, two fields. You got your GTE field and your GT3 field, and I think it was, 45-minute stints was the minimum time for one driver. So this is going to be quite interesting how this could play out here with driver changes and all that sort of thing playing into a factor.
Well, qualifying's over. You can see the checkered flag at the top left-hand side of the screen has been waved. So drivers are just completing their final qualifying laps at the moment. Team Maximilian Benecke is currently on top with a 1 minute 57.208, as it says at the top-hand side of the screen. Team Martin Kroenke is second. Now, how about that? Two of your world's best sim racers out here leading the charge in this charity race. Moritz Lochner, Williams Esports driver, also out there in third, followed by Carl Janssen and Adam Tierney. Now, for those drivers starting down the field, Nolan, as we close qualifying, there are going to be lots of overtaking spots here at Sebring. Turn 1's a good one, but I think the hairpin at Turn 7's another one they can look at as well.
Yeah, the hairpin at Turn 7 is a good one. The hairpin turn's going to be a good one. I'd almost say Sunset Bend. That could be a good one. Tower turn's a good overtaking spot. Cunningham Corner is a good overtaking spot. There's a lot of good zones here, and that's what's going to make this race such a joy to watch. There's going to be overtakes galore, especially off the start with the drivers that are starting further in the back, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be action-packed, and we got it all for over 2 hours, so it's going to be a real exciting thing to watch. And let me tell you, I'm stuttering because I can't wait for this to get going.
Yeah, exactly. So riding on board with Fabrice Cornelis, who's just weaving his Ferrari left and right. So lots of car classes out there here today. We'll have a look at the grid in just a moment's time as we switch sessions, but a 2 hour, 40-minute race. These drivers will need to take it easy there today. So I see Martin Kroenke entering the pit lane. Currently 38-degree track temp as well. So will that come into play in the early stints of the race, depending on weather? So rules just to cover before we head over to the race right now. One fast repair is available to the drivers. Now we hope no one has to use that. We hope it remains clean out there, of course, as well. And there are two classes of cars. You have your car class 1, the Porsche GTE, the Ford GTE, and the Ferrari GTE. So that is your GTE class. And then you have your GT3 class, which can include the BMW, Ferrari, or the McLaren. So get used to that. And final words, Nolan, before we head to our race and look at the grid as well. Sebring itself, we spoke about how challenging this was with the bumps as well at this circuit. I think heading into the braking zone for some of these drivers, especially in the early laps, is going to challenge them.
Oh, especially. Any bumpy track can be a nightmare to work with on your setup, because you get to the bumps on the track just goes, oh, your setup? Get that out the window. It's not going to matter to you. It's not going to matter to us. Say the bumps on the racetrack, and this track is certainly full of them. It's going to be, we're going to be seeing a lot of bumping around. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw an incident or two early on because of those bumps on the racetrack.
So let's have a look at your race grid for today's 2-hour and 40-minute event. Maximilian Benecke starts on pole. The blistering driver is almost half a second ahead of Martin Kroenke there in the second position. Team Moritz Lochner in the third spot, followed by Carl Janssen. They had your front row, so that's an incredible front two rows there in terms of talent. Then we have Adam Tierney rounding out the top 5, of course. From that third row, Fabrice Cornelis and his squad will be just ahead of the famous Jimmy Broadbent starting 7th. Team David Williams will be in the 8th position, followed by Matt Malone and David Haynes rounding out the top 10. Obviously, as you can see, the driver in Team David Haynes is currently not David Haynes right there. Nim Cross Jr.'s team will start in 11th. Jamie Fluke currently driving his own car in qualifying, 2.7 seconds off the pace. Come on, Jamie, be faster than that. And then we head into the 2-minute range right now as the drivers prepare for this rolling start. The rest of the grid on screen, it includes the likes of Kevin Ellis Jr. and Nolan, your newly crowned 2018 iRacing Rallycross World Champion of Mitchell de Jong, whose team will be starting from the 14th position. I don't think Mitchell qualified that car, though.
It actually looks like he did. He did set a 2-minute 3.66, so that put him up in 14th spot. That's where he's going to be starting. But yeah, Mitchell de Jong, he won your iRacing Rallycross Championship Series. He also, I believe, he was 3rd place in the iRacing World Grand Prix Championship Series. So he really is kind of a jack of all trades type of driver. So he does have some experience with road course racing. So this will be interesting to see if he'll be able to make up a position or two off the start here with his, I guess you could say, iRacing Formula 1 racing background.
Yeah, exactly. So he's in that, he's representing Coranda Sim Sports along with him and the team. So it's a bit confusing for us here. There are a lot of new names out here in the field. We obviously know the famous ones. But for the likes of Maximilian Benecke, of course we know him, and he is currently driving with, and I may have this wrong, Nolan, I can't even find him on my list. That's how hard this is right now. There are so many names. I guess it shows how much talent we have out there. Here it is. Apparently he's driving with Paul Antcliffe. So Maximilian Benecke, who's in that car at the moment, Paul Antcliffe should join him shortly. And I think the Make-A-Wish Foundation as well. Great to have this cause, great to have this race. I'm hoping, Nolan, it becomes something that we see more in the future, especially in 2019 and beyond.
It would be something that I would certainly not object to. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, of course, very, very great charity foundation, and I'm so glad that they're that this race is being hosted today for them. It really just shows that these guys, they're all coming together. This is for like a charity event, so it's going to be such a great event to go to, and that's what makes it so much more impacting, I guess you could say. And I don't know if it'll make it, I think it actually might make it a bit more competitive, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like it. I don't mind a bit of a competitiveness. You know, why not? It's a charity race, but who cares? Let's go all out. Let's have a bit of fun. Friendly fun, of course, as well. And we'll see if, of course, these drivers actually do adhere to the rules, of course, which we do want to see. And look at the top side of the screen there. Donate now. Visit the website above and donate to a good cause. The Make-A-Wish Foundation grants magical wishes to enrich the lives of children and young people fighting life-threatening conditions. The Make-A-Wish Foundation want to transform the lives of 1,000 children this year by granting their one true wish. Today we have pro drivers, streamers, YouTubers, other iRacing community members racing out there today. Seats were sold based on donations and they were paired with some celebrity drivers. And here we are out there on the racetrack. Months in the making has this race of the decade been in consideration. We're finally here in November, ready to go racing. Any final words, Nolan? The run to turn 1 could be chaotic here at Sebring.
Absolutely. Watch out for turn 1 there, because this track, it widens up on the exit of Sunset Bend, and it stays really wide all the way down to turn number 1, but on the exit, it tightens up so much, and that could impact a lot of drivers' days early on. So watch out for the GTE field, and then I'm going to watch out for the GT3 field, because, you know, both these fields, they're pretty big, so we're going to be, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing one of those first lap incidents in turn number 1. It would not surprise me.
So let's hope it all stays clean. It is a 450-meter run down from the start-finish line all the way to turn number 1 here at Sebring. And it'll be Maximilian Benecke to head the field away to begin proceedings for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thanks for joining us on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. Here we are for the race of the decade. We go green from Sebring.
Maximilian Benecke running away with it up front of this Ferrari 488 GTE as they come down here towards turn number 1. This is where it could get antsy. Team Martin Cronje right alongside Moritz Lonhert through turn number 1. Looks like the GTE field made it through all right. Great drive for these guys to keep out of trouble.
Look at Carl Jansen, though, trying to hound Martin Cronje for position in the opening sector as well. Jansen, oh, they've been alongside each other for pretty much the first 5 turns here. And Cronje will end out on top at the end of the day as well. So Martin Cronje leads ahead of Moritz Lochner for that second position. But Benecke is untouched in the lead. Look at the advantage he's built here in the opening sector as well. Oh, so close. They all go in the braking zone, but no collisions in these opening laps. Good to see some clean racing. There's 2 hours and 39 minutes remaining, though. Plenty of time.
I think that it might be one of those cases where Benecke will get a good jump off the start, but when these guys stop fighting each other so hard, they're going to slowly reel it back in. I'm beginning to think that that might be what could happen here as we look back for a brief moment towards your GT3 field, but we're going to keep eyes up front on this GTE field because they're still fighting close up there. David Williams almost getting touched by Matt Malone coming through that corner there as Martin Cronje already beginning to pull away from Moritz Lonhert, and he's already started to reel in Maximilian Benecke.
Yeah, so he's reeling in Benecke, and while that's all going on, we know Jamie Fluke is leading the GT3 field away. That was the second start behind, of course, as well. So we'll keep you all in the loop as that progresses. There's a car spun, though, on the exit here on to the straight. That's the number 18. It looks like Team David Haynes of Erwin Woodstrup needs to rejoin safely here, but that Ferrari has sustained some damage to the front end.
Yeah, it looked like, we got a replay up on your screen here, he just ran wide on the exit of this corner here, got 2 tires in the grass, and it just sent him right around and into the wall. So that was a complete driver incident. I was riding on board with him now, and that is what you don't want to do. That's a bit of an embarrassing moment after a half-hour worth of practice at a 15-minute qualifying session, but without any doubt, if he's as good as I hope he is, he's going to find his way up there pretty quickly.
And that Le Mans exit as well, Nolan, is so difficult. You know, you try to get on power early for that, for the good run onto the Allman straight, but again, you can just see they're being caught out by getting a bit too throttle happy.
I've done it myself. It's so easy to get throttle happy on the first couple laps of the race, and that's one thing you never want to do, especially in the endurance event, because it's a really long race, and there's lots of driver changes going around. So you need to make sure that you don't kind of jump the gun right off the start. You can see Carly Jansen cutting up the inside of Moritz Lohnert. They're side by side now, coming up to the Le Mans corner right here. I think he does, and it will be Carly Jansen that wins out in that battle for third place.
The good stuff from Jansen up ahead there, and Jansen has had a good start so far. Started the race in the 4th position. Moritz Lohnert though remains behind. Moritz Lohner's had a good year, Nolan. He's bounced around from team to team, but now he's a member of Williams Esports in the F1 Esports competition, of course, separate to iRacing, as we know. And here they are in the Ulm Straight. Moritz Lohnert needs to have a chance here to reclaim that 3rd position, but it's still early days. He's having a look here. He's in the toe, but I don't think it's possible heading in to Sunset Boulevard.
Well, not quite, but he might be able to get a run here up to turn 1 if he places cards right on the exit. Here they come. Ooh, just barely gets onto the grass there on the exit of Sunset Bend. That was about to get really antsy. As here he goes, he's got the draft. He's looking again. Not quite there as they go into turn number 1. We just have over 2.5 hours left in this race.
Did I say Sunset Bend Boulevard? I meant Sunset Bend. I'm getting racetracks mixed up. Here we are in the 1st sector. And Lohnert running on board from the rear end here, and this is an incredible shot right now in that Ford. Moritz. This is an overtaking spot we spoke about, Nolan, into turn 7 into the hairpin. It's a bumpy braking zone, but I think Moritz is a bit too far behind. Has a look anyway.
Yeah, he's getting there. Oh, excuse me. He's getting there, and I think if he's patient enough, he'll be able to definitely get that run, because he certainly has the speed with how much he can close into Jansen. I'm just not. The question is how long until he is close enough to make that move, and that's going to be one of the more tricky things to judge as they go into the Cunningham corner. Yes, that was the Cunningham corner. I did not mix that up. Through collar curve now up towards tower turn. As Jens Lohnert, I think he dropped off a little bit, but he's right on him, so he's definitely going to be hassling him here for at least like 3 or 4 laps, I'm assuming.
So while that battle takes place, the battle for the lead of your 2nd class, the GT3s, is ongoing between the likes of Jamie Fluke and Kevin Ellis Jr. Both those drivers manning the car of their own team. Kevin Ellis Jr. is ever so close right now to the lead of that 2nd class. Here they are through Le Mans, and then they'll head on to the Ulm Straight, of course, as well. Ooh, some problems there with the cameras, but we're all good right now. Kevin Ellis Jr. now on the Ulm Straight right now. There are the DRS boards. No DRS available in these cars. That's for the Grand Prix series. But Ellis Jr. has a shot here and goes defensive is Jamie Fluke. No room around the outside for Ellis Jr., but he'll have a shot here with the switchback. Needs to make sure he gets the line right, and he butchers that completely, Nolan. Terrible exit for Kevin Ellis Jr.
I thought he might have gone for the over and under, but then he lost 3/10 off the exit of that. That was an awful exit. I'm sorry, Williams, but that was just Kevin Ellis Jr. Excuse me. I apologize, but that was definitely not preferable. He's close to the gap. He is within 4/10 now. It's fluctuated a little bit on my timing screen here, but things are beginning to look as we can actually see Mitchell de Jong looking to maybe join the party.
Yeah, Mitchell de Jong is close. He is manning his own team's car. I'm just trying to look through the field and see which drivers are not driving their own team's car, if that makes sense. But I think most drivers are in there right now. I know Team Jimmy Broadbent. Jimmy's not in that car at the moment. That German Fanador is currently in that car in the 6th position. And he's very close here right now. And there he is on screen right there. They are in that green... very lovely green Ford livery behind, and we'll hopefully see Jimmy in the car later on, Nolan. Jimmy is one of the most famous personalities out there in the iRacing universe and sim racing universe, and it's good to see him out here in this charity race.
It's super good to see him out here in this charity race. You like to see the talent coming out here in these types of events. It shows that, you know, these drivers, they don't just compete for the money. They can compete just for the heck of it. And this is one of those races or they just compete completely because they want to. I'm looking back to our battle for the lead in our GT3 field because Kevin Ellis Jr. has closed in again to Craig A. Williams. I'm not sure if it's close enough, though, to make the move into Sunset Bend. Not quite. He's taking a look, but he gets back in line. Not quite there. As we look up through your GTE field now, how is this battle between Moritz Lancer and Carl Jensen going to play out?
Jensen's awfully close into turn one, but look at this battle between Fluke and Ellis Jr. These two are teammates, don't forget, in the more competitive world. And they're both Apex Racing UK drivers. Ellis Jr. as well, sharp turn in into the first corner, and that impedes his exit by quite a bit. Both racing the BMW at the moment, so good car choice between the two. And I'm pretty sure his teammates, Nolan, they probably helped each other in terms of setup and probably worked together. So they probably know each other's strengths and weaknesses around this circuit.
It wouldn't be any surprise to me personally. Like, I know that if I had an old teammate, I'd certainly help with setups, and it wouldn't be the first time, I would assume, because it's just one of those things you gotta help each other out here in order for it to be competitive. That makes it fun though, because that makes it so that in the event that you end up fighting with your teammate, you're on much more even ground. And that is one of the most powerful things about this type of events, is you get old teammates together and they help each other with setups. And it's not the first thing, certainly will be the last thing. So I want to totally say it's out of the ordinary as we look back up to your GTE field in that battle for third place, which is it's simmered down a little bit here, I would say.
Yeah, Carl Jensen in that battle, and it's starting to, as you said, I think that's well put. Just simmering down a little bit. Carl Jensen, the Radicals Online driver, and that Ford can't really pass Moritz Lochner ahead. Isn't really phased by the pressure from Fabrice Cornelis behind as they head into Sunset Bend. Yet another time here as we approach the 2-hour and 30-minute mark in this event right now. So let's have a look at your top three from each class. Maximilian Benecke and his squad lead the GTEs by just under 3 seconds ahead of Martin Kronke. And they're followed by Moritz Lochner, and that's the battle you're watching on screen. Moritz Lochner leads the pack away here. It's a bit of a train all the way down to, I'd say, P9, where Matt Malone is. And Matt Malone's only a couple of seconds behind Lochner. So anyone from 3rd to 9th, Nolan, is in a good chance here for a podium position.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody within the top 9 for the GTE field at any rate is in a good spot for a podium finish. Of course, you see Martin Kronke and Maximilian Benecke just running away with it up there. They are gone pretty much, I'd say, is the accurate term. Even with no help from drafting at all, Kronke is gone, but I'm not sure if he could catch up to Maximilian Benecke. They're only 3 seconds apart, so that's, when it's in an endurance race, a 3-second gap really isn't all that much. So it's definitely doable. You can definitely close in to him again. So this will be a tad interesting to see maybe what will play out later on into the race. And of course, when we get to the pit strategy, that's also going to play into a huge key factor here in races like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to come in later in the event, and that's going to pay dividends for those that get it right. Talking about your GT3 field, Jamie Fluke still leads that and hasn't looked back since the opening laps. He has been pressured by Kevin Ellis Jr. in the other BMW. And Craig Williams behind, also racing the BMW Z or Z4, however you pronounce that. And he's 3rd in that class. Are you a Z man or are you a Z man?
I wouldn't know really what to tell you. I am noticing up ahead, we got one of these cars, Tom van de Humen. I'm not sure if he's first in the GT3 field. If he is, then it comes as a shock to me because I think he's a part of our GTE field and he has had a problem, it might look like. So I don't know if that's damage on the front or just how the car looks, but I don't know if he had an issue because I could have swore that he was in our GTE field, unless I'm, of course, wrong in that case.
Yeah, so Tom is just lagging behind in the pace as well. So certainly something going on. And just remember, maybe Tom is just quite off the pace anyway, regardless of that. So he may be caught by those GT3 cars, but Fluke's having trouble. He's got a few seconds up the road to head into Tom Van Humen, who's racing for Team Nimcross. And Team Nimcross as well. Nimcross is a man, Nolan, who is an iRacing chief steward, and if anyone's going to adhere to driving standards, surely it will be Tom and his squad.
Well, yeah, that tends to happen when you're a race steward and you end up in a race that you're competing in. So you'd want to make sure that you adhere by the rules. Might make you look like a bit of a hypocrite if you don't. So hopefully his team adheres by the rules. It certainly looks like they've been doing a really good job of doing that so far. We got two cars got really close there. Kevin O'Keefe and Jesper. Please excuse me for pronouncing his name wrong. Jesper Drilica. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry. The McLaren and the BMW getting really tight together through the turn 7 hairpin, I believe it was. Oh, that was not turn 7 at all. Just the hairpin turn. Please excuse me for that mistake.
No, you're all good. And Kevin O'Keefe, a man who's also a strong personality in the sim racing universe. He's right behind here. Jesper Drilica. Very difficult to pronounce her name, as we said. Here they head into the final few corners before the Allman Straight. Here's Le Mans, the right-hander of turn 16. Wide entry for Jesper Drilica there, and I think he's going to gain the run here on the Allman Straight, but Kevin O'Keefe is robust on the right foot and gets all the power he needs in the world right now, but I don't think it's going to be enough as he gains the draft. He edges closer. Let's have a look.
Oh, not quite there, but behind them we had a pass. Erwin in that number 20 in that 18 car machine just got by Jordi Maldonado in that 21 machine. That was a pass for 20th place, so that just proves that all the way down through this field we're going to be seeing fights for position. It's not just going to be for the win, it'll be for spots as far back as like 20th, 21st. That's sort of it's a long way back, and that's one of those problems where it can really impact not problem per se, but it can really impact the way this race can shape out.
Yeah, it certainly can. We're looking at Team Alex Sadler. Jordi Maldonado currently pilots that Ferrari and trying to search for a way past Erwin Woodster up ahead, who's driving for Team David Haynes. I love these team names. I should have entered this event, but I had my own name in there as well. But yeah, that's my claim to glory gone. Maybe I'll enter next year's event, Nolan. Hopefully this happens next year.
I honestly hope it happens next year as well. It's been a very exciting first 15 minutes or so to this race. I hope that excitement's going to keep up through the rest of this race. I am noticing that Jamie Fluke is kind of beginning to push away. Oh, never mind, I was wrong. I thought Jamie Fluke was beginning to kind of push away with the lead here, but Kevin Ellis Jr. closed in quite a little bit, so scratch me on that one. That's about your GT3 field. I'm trying to see if there's anything in the GTE field that's going on. The battle between Moritz Lohner and Carl Jensen is definitely, it's definitely kind of backed off a little bit. He is kind of holding steady, and this is at the point in the race with these drivers. You know, we're done the first few laps. These guys are gonna settle down a little bit, gonna just like run their laps. And oh, never mind! Carl Jensen makes a move on the inside of Moritz Lohner into turn number 2, but not quite there. That was about to get really antsy. I thought he was gonna pit him for a second.
The fight continues though on the run down to turn 7. Will Janssen have the confidence under braking? Searches for the brake marker. Deep on the brakes is Carl Janssen, and edges closer to Moritz Lohner up ahead. Brilliant exit from Janssen too, so he's going to run here now all the way to Cunningham turn 10. Possible overtaking move for Janssen. Will he make it? Let's have a look. Not confident enough is Carl Janssen. It's a very tough overtaking spot yet, Nolan, into turn 10. You're going to head to Tower, turn 13 shortly. Here's the right-hander right now. We're riding on board with Fabrice Cornelis, who's in the 5th position. Boy, this battle's starting to heat up here with, I think, 20 minutes into the event.
Only 20 minutes in, we're already seeing this kind of race. These guys are going to be closing laps. But let me tell you, that is something that I love to see. I like to see these guys fighting all the way through the race, and that's something that is going to be going on all throughout the races. Oh my goodness, they get so close to each other on the brakes of the corners. Those top 2 guys up there, Fabrice Cornelis, Carl Janssen, running just a tad wide on the exit, but not quite. Will he have to run down to the sunset bend? Not quite. If he gets a good exit here, he could get him going into turn number 1.
They all break so deep here in the Sunset Bend. I love this corner. There are so many lines you can take, so many lines you can get wrong and right. But for the moment, Moritz Lochner remains ahead. Those are the two fighting ahead. Lochner and Janssen. Fabrice Cornelis sitting with a bag of popcorn behind in the 5th position. Just looking for a spot up ahead, of course, as well. Fabrice Cornelis started this race from 6th up into the 5th position. Team Adam Tierney, currently piloted by Adam Tierney himself. He's the one who started from that 5th position. Don't forget, Nolan. He's dropped down to 8th and already under pressure by Matt Malone behind in the 9th position. And we could see an overtake be pull off very shortly between those two. And up ahead as well, that battle for P4 heating up. We possibly saw an overtaking move, but there they are all in formation. And Janssen close for a move, but not close enough.
They're so close. I'm telling you, this is only gonna end bad if both of them. Here he makes the move again, coming into Cunningham corner, and he makes the move, and he's on his right side now. Really get the move done on the outside of this corner. He's got a good line here. Coming into tower turn, can he get it done? Probably. Oh, they almost touch each other. We got Fabrice Cornelis and David Williams looking to maybe take advantage of a spin that might occur here. I would not be surprised if that did end the spin. Carl Janssen barely manages to hold out against Moritz Lochner, who's going to have to find another way around. Will he make the move to Le Mans turn? No, he will not, but he's going to have a huge run coming up to Sunset Bend if he can play his cards right.
Through 15 and 16 they go, but the ever-impetuous Carl Janssen is ahead, and it looks like Cornelis could have a slowdown here, so Fabrice Cornelis may have cut the course and has to let Team Jimmy Broadbent through. That's the driver of German Afanador who goes through as well, but that battle for P3 continues. Moritz Lochner now searching for the 3rd position again. He hadn't lost it all race and now needs to earn it back here with 2 hours and 20 minutes to go.
Kind of takes a look going into turn number 1, but decides to poke his nose back in. I think he's just kind of harassing the mirrors of that 92 machine at this point as they run down to turn number 2. Will he make the move? Will he be close enough to make the move coming into the turn 5 hairpin? That's the real question. If he can get on his inside, it will be over, and this turn will belong to Moritz Lochner if he doesn't come to course. I don't think he will. I don't think he's quite close enough just yet. Maybe will he be brave enough is the question. He's looking, he's on the inside. Nope, gets back in line as he's going to have to wait for another day. And of course, Fabrice Cornelis, even with that slowdown penalty, he's still pushing hard to work his way back up to get that position that he lost out to David Williams.
Lochner was cautious there. I think he knows it's a long event. Definitely could have sent it up the inside, possibly here into Cunningham at turn 10. But no room for Moritz Lochner. This is where he was forced offline by Janssen. The ever-confident Carl Janssen, who headed his way into the 3rd position. But for the likes of Fabrice Cornelis, that could be a mistake, Nolan, that he laments for quite some time in this event, because not only has he lost a position, he's lost a lot of ground to the 3 in front.
Well, he has, but like we were talking about, it's a long event. He's still got 2 hours and 18.5 minutes left in the race as of now. So there's a long time to make these things up. And these guys, they're not going to be pushing so hard throughout the entire race. Like eventually we're going to be seeing maybe fuel conservation later on in the race. And that is where the real drivers will really shine. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Longer, maybe making the move. No, not quite there. I thought he was going to step out and maybe go on the inside. That would have certainly impacted things. Carl Janssen now. Janssen takes a pretty wide exit coming down compared to Lochner. And I find it to be a bit curious. Whatever he's doing is certainly working for him. Maybe he's just kind of running wide on the exit to get a bit more speed. It certainly helped him defend turn number 1.
Yeah, different driving styles, especially in these and GTE cars, could make all the difference. Look at this tight and tricky first sector. There is no margin for error. High curves as well. And the track starting to rubber in more and more as the race progresses. But for Lochner on the curb there, a bit squirrely on the exit, and that could allow German Afanador for Team Jimmy Broadbent to make a move. There he is in that green Ford GTE. No move for German though. He has to remain behind here and could be under attack from the drivers behind as well. How close did that get as well? Fabrice Cornelis searching for redemption to reclaim a spot in the top 5.
Oh my goodness, this is so tight. Fabrice Cornelis looking again, going into the corner. Is he going to be there? Yes, but can he hang on to it until the tower turn? No, he cannot. He's going to have to wait until Le Mans to make another move. And he's definitely close, and that's what I was saying. He can find his way up there. He's a really quick driver. We've seen that so much, and Carl Jansen, he is getting those left and right side tires going into the dirt quite a bit on the exit of this corner sometime. I saw coming off of turn 1 last time, kind of left a bit of a trail of dust kicking up behind him. So might have to watch the exit, because if you get too far off of these cars, they are very unforgiving if you hit the grass. And I know that very well. I've driven the Ferrari GT3s, and they are so unforgiving, especially at tracks like this.
Yeah, one man in that Ferrari is Fabrice Cornelis, you can see on screen. Just ahead of David Williams there in the 7th position. David Williams, virtual racing school driving instructor and a Coanda Simsport driver as well. How close is Cornelis through Sunset Bend? That's a brave move for a race where there's 2 hours and 16 minutes remaining. They cross the start-finish line. Cornelis leaving over the straight. That's a battle up ahead as we watch from the bridge. Cornelis sends it up the inside. Afanador and Cornelis almost touch. He forces Afanador to the grass as well, but German
Williams was so close to the exit of turn 1. He just about made the move on the going around German Afanador. Going into turn number 2, decided to back out of it. Probably a wise move on behalf of Williams to kind of wait a bit, because these guys, they are just for sure going to take each other out if they keep driving like this. But while it lasts, this is providing some really good stuff for us to watch. And let me tell you, that's just so lovely to see all these drivers moving around. We do have a problem. We've got a couple cars that are loose, including Sandre Setsas. He's getting really loose. Might have suspension damage. I don't know what's going on there, but he was really sideways going through Sunset Bend just the last turn. That's going to give the spot to Taylor Book out.
Yeah, so troubles there for those two through that final corner as well. And it's certainly a corner with a lot of bumps that can really throw drivers off. But let's have a look at the replay on screen right now. This is Timo Gorlic is currently driving the car as well. Sindre Setsas also a teammate. They just got a bit wobbly, didn't they, Nolan? And just looked like driver error there more than anything.
Well, it definitely was, because the car behind him wasn't even close to touching him. I think it was one of those cases where he just jumped on the brakes a bit too quickly, being too over-aggressive. Oh no, Fabrice Cornelis has another slowdown penalty coming into the Sunset Bend. He just got another slowdown penalty. He just had to give up his position on German Afanador and David Williams this time. So that's 2 mistakes in such a short period of time for that from that number 1 machine in your GTE field. So that is so unfortunate. He's got a lot of work ahead of him now. Martin Slaughter looking to the inside of Carl Jansen in turn number 1, but not quite there to make the move. Things are really beginning to heat up, and we're not even like halfway through this event, not even a quarter of the way in the event.
No way. And Cornelis will be lamenting that. Turn 15 here at Sebring is abysmal for some drivers. They can just never figure it out. For the likes of Cornelis, that's already 2 slowdowns and any more, and he'll keep peeling off from this bunch. Also peeled off from this train was Adam Tierney and Matt Malone. Now, Matt Malone found his way past Adam Tierney, and now Tierney's found a way back past Matt Malone. So those two switching positions in the meantime. But for the likes of Moritz Lochner here, he's all over the rear end of Carl Jansen. Possibly a move into turn 10 is Moritz Lochner searching, but no way up the inside. And Lochner remains in that 4th position at the moment. The lead in this overall field, Maximilian Benetke currently leads ahead of Kroenke. That's class 1 in the field. Jamie Fluke still leads ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr. in the 2nd class as well. Ellis Jr. Lost a bit of time. He's lost some ground. 2nd behind in that class for the moment, and there he is on screen. The 2 teammates now leading that pack away. Now, I'm hoping for more out of Mitchell de Jong, Nolan, who's 4th in that 2nd class, the GT3s. Mitchell de Jong is about 4 seconds off the lead. pretty sure he'll just get better the more he drives. Maybe he just hasn't practiced much with this event. I don't know how much experience he has in the GT3 either.
I'm pretty sure it's one of those cases where, you know, you're not too good at the start of the event. By the end of the event, you're gonna be flying by the end of it, because believe it or not, the race is actually over, like, I'd say a good 3 times as long as practice and qualifying combined. So that just kind of gives you a bit of scope on how long this type of an event is. He is trying to close the gap to Craig A. Williams, while also trying to keep on defense from Kazuki Umeshima right behind him. So that could be a bit interesting. Jamie Fluke, leader of this GT3 field, he's kind of pulling away. We got a bit of a look up at the GTE field. Shane Norton looked to the inside of Adam Tierney going through turn number 2. Not quite there though just yet. And just to give you a bit of a scope as to how far ahead Maximilian Benecke and Martin Kroenke are ahead of these two guys. Maximilian Benecke is 5 seconds ahead of Martin Kroenke. Kroenke is 15.5 seconds ahead of the rest of these guys.
Yeah, those two are insanely quick. I mean, they're aliens, as we know. And they'll be untouched as well. There's Kroenke on screen representing the Virtual Racing School Coanda Sim Sport team. And those two are going to dominate the first and second positions unless anything goes wrong. Touch wood, of course, for those two. Carl Jansen, though, is in the 3rd position, but I don't think that battle is signed, sealed, delivered. Look how many cars you can see on screen, and all of those cars are in a scrap here for that final podium position for today's, my opinion, and therefore fact, race of the decade, sponsored by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And this charity race, of course, as well, the first. We had the inaugural race of the decade too. Don't forget to make a donation, of course, as well. Plenty of donation links being spread across YouTube, of course, too. And something that is all for a good cause too, Nolan. It's good to see a lot of people watching this event. Thanks for joining us here on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network.
And the Make-A-Wish Foundation, of course, providing for kids that have these life-threatening conditions, providing them with their one lifetime wish. And let me tell you, it's such a beautiful thing to see. It really brightens up a child's day when they have a wish come true, just like that. I almost wish I could have something like that happen to me, but no such luck for me, I suppose, as we get Moritz Lautner closing a little bit on Carl Jensen, but not quite, I'd have to say. Oh, maybe not. Looks to the inside. Not quite there, though. Gets back into the line. It's one of those cases. This is almost one of those tracks where you really have to set up the position. Because if you fail at an overtake, you can lose like half a second, and that's exactly what just happened here. He dropped a little bit, but he's closing the gap again. 210s. You got to be like right on the bumper really before you can poke out to make a movement. At least this section of the track.
And that's what Lochner's trying to achieve right now through the middle sector, heading through Fangio turn 9, and then on towards Cunningham. This tight right-handed braking zone. Look from the aerial view here. Running deep into the corner is Jansen, but keeps it together on the exit there of turn 10. They'll head towards now, or through turn 13, excuse me. They'll head towards now the final few corners before the Allman straight here through 15. This is where Fabrice Cornelis has cut the course quite a lot of times, and then on towards the Allman straight, of course, too. Lochner has a good exit here through Le Mans. The Allman straight, a great overtaking opportunity, but it's Sunset Bend in the braking zone where it needs to be done. Look at Moritz Lochner here searching for that final podium position provisionally, and up the inside goes Lochner. Brilliant move so far, but it's up to Jansen here on the exit to pound the throttle and reclaim the spot across the main straight.
I don't think he's close enough. If he kept to the throttle, he would have been able to, but he kind of backed off a little bit. So that kind of took me by surprise, but that will allow Moritz Lautner up into 3rd place. So that was a good, like, what, half hour of work of trying to get that position back, and he finally got it done, which is where the big P word comes in for this: patience. You need a lot of it in a race that is as long as this one, especially when you want to get a position back.
Yeah, exactly. So poise, perfection. Poise, perfection, probably the best way to put it. Those two words. A lot of overtaking spots we spoke about, Nolan, on this circuit. So some of them are a lot harder than others, but There are plenty of opportunities. Look at that mint-colored Ford Team Jimmy Broadbent, currently piloted by German Afanador in that car at the moment, who's searching for a spot into the top 4. They've remained in that 5th position for quite some time. But for the likes of David Williams behind as well. David Williams, who actually Nolan, we might want to speak about for a little bit. Virtual racing school driver instructor. And David Williams has been in sim racing for definitely over a decade. He's a driver who we're right on board with him. We want to see a lot out of in this event. Show all his teachings on the world stage and teach these guys how to overtake right now. That's what we want to see from David Williams.
Well, surprisingly, he's been pretty calm. If he's had an opportunity to overtake, he's just kind of let it go. And I think it might be a good strategy he's playing out here, because he might recognize that the guys ahead of him, they were getting so close that they were probably going to take each other out. So he was kind of just waiting for them to, I don't know, I guess do the work for him, you know, spin each other out. And then he doesn't have to work at all for the position. He can just like drive right by. And okay, I'm guilty of this too. I've done this so many times. I'm pretty sure everybody on SimRace, I'm pretty sure we've all done that at one point or another. But it is a good tactic, and it can be useful in aggressive racing, such as what we've been seeing up here for the past little while. Boris Lauder has really been putting the gas on. He's over half a second ahead of Carly Jansen now. I think he was almost being held up by Jansen, because he's almost running away with it now.
Have a look at Fabrice Cornelis behind as well, Nolan. He's, well, we can't see him on screen, but he's quite a few seconds down the road after that. There he is now, actually, and he's being hounded by Adam Tierney. So Cornelis has lost some pace as his stint progresses. So we look at the track temperature, still 38 degrees Celsius, and that, Nolan, could be coming into play in terms of tires. I don't know by how much, but certainly Cornelis is not any quick as this stint has progressed.
Well, he really hasn't been the quickest, and that almost surprises me, because he did start up in 6th place. But David Williams, he's really dominated 6th place so far in this race. Looking back, the problem with Fabrice Cornelis is he needs to make sure that if Adam Tierney does end up getting by him, he gets in and blocks the driver right behind him, Tom Van Humen, get it in there as well. As it looks like we're taking a look back towards your GT3 field once more. It's been a while since we checked in on these guys, with the battle between Mitchell De Jong and Kazuki Umeshima for 14th place.
He's currently 5th in this GT3 class, of course, as well. Jamie Flute currently leads that GT3 class, but Mishima, he's had a good race so far. The Japanese young driver, he's been in sim racing for so many years, and Nolan, that's what we're starting to see, and not just in sim racing, but in many sports. There are drivers who might be like 22 or 23 years old, but you think you've known them for like 5 or 10 years. They're coming in so young these days.
Well, absolutely, but that's the good thing. Like, that's one of these things that is actually, I really like it. Like, it's coming in young, and you get people even younger than that are entering sim racing. You know, like people like sometimes below the age of 18. Like I don't know, people like I don't know. I'm pretty sure if Lewis Hamilton, one of these drivers in real life. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut away from that. We do appear to have German Afanador in the pits. He's got damage on his rear wing. Did he make contact with somebody and get spun around?
So something could have gone wrong for Team
Oh,
Jimmy
he got taken out by
Broadbent
David Williams.
So we'll have a look at the replay shortly for sure. Well, here it is on screen regardless, and there could have been contact here. Nolan, talk us through it through Sunset Bend.
Williams made the move and just got right into him and sent Afanador into the tire barrier. It was a complete side-to-side contact, and I'm trying to debate. It looked like Williams gave him room, but maybe Afanador thought he was clearer, or at least clearer than he was, and came down on Williams. That was definitely a racing incident, certainly not intentional, but that is such a shame for German Afanador, who's dropped back now to 18th place. He's gonna have his work cut out for him as he comes out right in front, or sorry, right behind Nathan Schnarder.
So there we see the incident again on screen, and that is quite unfortunate for German Afanador, who was having such a great race for Team Jimmy Broadbent. We're back live here as he's currently out of the pit lane, and it looks like he's all the way down in the 19th position overall. So he's been passed by a few of those GT3 cars as well. He's behind Josh Thompson in the McLaren up ahead, of course, too. So Jimmy Broadbent currently in that car. They've made the driver switch there, Nolan, as Jimmy Broadbent now looking to scream his way through the field as we see overtakes in the top end of the order.
Jay Norton got around Adam Tierney for the 7 coming out of Le Mans. Tierney was looking to the inside of Norton into Sunset Bend. Not quite there though. This is really, I'd say this is one of the closer fights of the race right now. Is this fight for 7th right up here. And for Fabrice Cornelius, he's kind of doing his job to run away with it. And then of course you have drivers like David Williams. Williams doesn't appear to have any damage from that incident, so he was very lucky to get away without a scratch on that deal, but he's probably for sure upset somebody's day, and that somebody will most certainly be that driver of German Aventador.
And while that's all going on, Kazuki Umeshima has finally found a way past Mitchell de Jong in your GT3 class. So Umeshima now into 4th position for that GT3 field in the BMW. De Jong trying to fight back here in the Ferrari into turn 1, but no room for your 2018 iRacing Rallycross champion. Here's a replay of the move here on the Ullman Straight. Umeshima with a brilliant run out of Le Mans, and then will sail possibly up the inside.
Got right on the inside of him and just sailed right by in Sunset Bend. That was pinpoint driving. I guess you could say we're lucky not to have an incident like we just did. And you were saying Mitchell de Jong looking to close the gap in turn 2. He just about gave the pit maneuver to Kazuki Umeshima. So they're fighting pretty closely. Now this looks like it's the closest battle throughout the entire field right now, as they head themselves down in the run-up towards Cunningham Corner. Now Umeshima, he is blinking just a bit. He has been for the entire race, hasn't caused issues yet. I am worried though if de Jong tries to get by him and he blinks out. Now that's where things could get really antsy.
Mitchell de Jong himself, real-life rallycross driver, don't forget of course too, along with champion in the esports world. He's raced against the likes of Scott Speed, Nolan, for example. Scott Speed, former Formula 1 driver who's also been on iRacing too, don't forget, for whether it's great or controversial reasons. And Mitchell de Jong, who is a star for the future, of course, sponsored by Red Bull, VRS Commander SimSport driver. He certainly, if you wanted to start a sim racing team and had to pick a talent for the future, I reckon de Jong would be in your top 5 for sure.
De Jong proved in the Rallycross Championship he's really good on the dirt. He proved in the iRacing World Grand Prix Championship Series he's fairly well with open wheel racing as well. So, and this is a good place where we can see how good he is with the GT3 cars. It's a bit more of the Grand Touring Series as we look further up towards your GTE field now in this fight. This really almost like a mini three-way battle. 6th place, more of a fight for 7th, I'd have to say. With Shane Norton trying to close in on Fabrice Cornelius, who I feel so sorry for Fabrice Cornelius. He's had 2 slowdown penalties, and he's lost down the spots to Carl Jensen and David Williams now because of it. It's really such a shame that had to be where he is. On the other hand, though, I noticed he's back up to where he started, so I guess mission accomplished then. Yeah,
exactly. So you always want to either finish above where you started or at least at the minimum finish there where you did start. Here's the move here. Here's a replay on screen. There's the number 8. Trying to look for a move. I don't know if they're going to make their way past anytime shortly. It says replay at the top left-hand side. Well, there it is. Back live at the moment. And there are your drivers of Fraser Williamson and Lewis Goodway. They're currently 6th and 7th in your GT3 field. So don't forget, this is your 2nd class out here, of course, as well. Fraser being a bit loose, isn't he, right now? Oh, that's Lewis Goodway, excuse me, behind, not Fraser. And Lewis will be right on board with him in the BMW Z4, or Z4, depending on how you like to pronounce that. They head through turn 13 of Tower, and straight past here, the driver there of Elaine Day, who's straight out of the way and being lapped by this bunch.
Yeah, and that allowed Lewis Goodway to get right around Fraser Williamson. I am noticing that Williamson does have some significant damage to the front end of that car. I wonder if he had a nose to kind of tail. Whoa! Jordi Maldonado getting really sideways off of Le Mans. Beautiful save by Jordi Maldonado. That was so close, and that might have, if he went around, that possibly could have caught up German Avantador, which would have been the second incident today.
Yeah, that could have been close. But he keeps it straight together, doesn't he? Here they are across the main straight yet another time. I love that livery for Fraser Williams' car. And I don't even know what it's like, a psychedelic livery on the BMW. It looks like candy, doesn't it? It looks like I want to eat that car right now.
I'm not sure about that from me, but I can see where you're coming from. But it looks like candy for sure, and I know some people would want to eat the car. I personally wouldn't find eating a bunch of metal or roll caging too healthy for your teeth or your digestive tract, for that matter. He's trying to close the gap, but I think with that damage on him, he's just too unsteady to be able to get it done. Lewis Goodway's also got some damage on the right front of this car, so maybe these two drivers have tangled with each other here, because Lewis Goodway's got damage on the back end of his car, so it looks like maybe these two drivers have been been doing some beating and banging here.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of beating and banging, argy-bargy racing in the opening stages as we've hit that 2-hour mark. So there's now a 56 remaining in this event, and plenty of time remaining in this. The Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race presented by the My Opinion and Therefore Fact Esports Network, with all coverage today on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. Jonathan Simon, the contributor, alongside Nolan Rempel, Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production. The battle on screen, as you can see, Umeshima reeling in Craig Williams towards the end of his stint, and that will be for your final podium position in your second class here, the GT3s. Kazuki's been a driver, Nolan, that come race time, he is insanely quick. He's almost like the Fernando Alonso of sim racing. He's done this in the Formula One car as well in the Grand Prix series earlier this year.
Now, I remember seeing that in the Grand Prix series. He's certainly a fast driver, and the question is he fast enough to catch Craig A. Williams? And like you said, we're coming to the end of these driver stints. They're about 45 minutes in each for the minimum. So it'll be tight here to see who will come out in front of who with the driver changes that we're going to be seeing in this mini endurance event. It'll be fairly interesting to see what we can bring out.
And Umeshima goes straight past Williams now. So Williams, with some trouble in the exit there at the first sector, demotes himself to the 4th position and could be under attack from Mitchell de Jong behind as well, of course, too. So Williams, say no more to that podium position in Class 2. It is now in the hands of the Lux Sim 24, My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast car. And that number 6, Team Kevin Ellis Jr. in second. And Jamie Fluke still leads the GT3 field in that first position. He has never looked back from the start of this event. For Class 1, Team Maximilian Benecke, piloted by Benecke himself, leads by 7 seconds. If you're leading ahead of Martin Kroenke, one of the greatest sim racers of all time, by 7 seconds, you have to be a good sim racer. And of course, it has to be Maximilian Benecke himself. So Benecke has driven splendidly so far. And Moritz Lochner is currently in the 3rd position, but I don't think that battle is over. Lochner, the Williams F1 esports driver, who has had a remarkable year for himself with high achievements, holds that 3rd position with his 2nd driver yet to take spot. So Nolan, we're through almost about 8 minutes until we get to an hour through this race so far. I'm not really an endurance racing guy. As we see some more pit stops come into play, what part of the stint, what's going through your mind right now 1 hour through this event? Are you starting to get bored of driving? Are you starting to lose focus, thinking about dinner, thinking about things you shouldn't think about? Or is it full focus, full battle ahead?
Now, I have yet to drive an endurance race myself, so I'll have to say that I wouldn't know how to answer that question personally. But I'd say it really depends on what kind of a mind the driver can have, because everybody's just so different when it comes to this sort of thing in the regards. I think that if you're, for example, Carly Jensen and David Williams, you're going to be at full focus trying to get through these guys. You might not even want to come in for a pit stop because you're trying to get that position back before you come into pit.
Yeah, for the likes of David Williams, it's important. Look at the time he's gained here on Janssen. 4 tenths, 3 tenths, and 6 tenths as well. A total of about 1.5 seconds there. As Williams dives up the inside of Sunset Bend. That's a confident move from David Williams. No age lost from the VRS Coanda Simsport driver. And here's Carl Janssen trying to search for a move possibly at the inside of turn 1. There are so many lines you can take here at Sebring. This is going to get awfully close between the two. And Janssen finds his way up ahead. Williams now
got chase for the hatch here. Here he comes up the inside. Not quite there, though. Oh, boy. I'm sorry to cut you off. That was way too close for comfort.
Oh, goodness me. Williams, I'm surprised he kept it together, Nolan. He was getting quite racy, wasn't he, David Williams? The good thing is they didn't get argy-bargy at all. No contact between the two that entire time.
Not at all, and that was impressive driving and very confident with David Williams on the inside of Sunset Bend. And I'm gonna say, I thought it was like, oh wow, that was like pinpoint driving from Williams when he went in for Sunset. But when it came to turn 1 and I saw Hansen on the inside, I was holding my breath all the way through to turn number 2 because it was just so tight. And Williams, I think, might have, probably not, but it looked to me on my screen that he gave like a little bit of a punt to Janssen, but it doesn't look like so because there's no damage to either car. Janssen beginning to pull away just a tad, but they're kind of holding steady around 4 tenths or so. But on the straights like this one, and of course on that other straight, right before sunset, Williams can close in so much with the draft that you can get off of these cars.
Yeah, close the battle's getting there between the two. Right behind them, of course, as well, Matt Malone, who's charging through the field, is hounding down Fabrice Cornelis. They head through Le Mans, through the wide curve there. So that's the battle at the bottom end of the screen. They just pop out there between Janssen and Williams. Then you have Cornelis and the Ferrari chased by Matt Malone and the Ford. Adam Tierney's quite a few seconds behind. And look at the time gain there at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Matt Malone, the past 3 laps, is green in terms of reeling in the gap to Cornelis. And it looks like this could be a race of attrition for Cornelis as he loses more and more time.
Lost a bit more time, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about. He's doing a good job. And the Ford right behind him, Shane Norton, going way off and into the dirt. That'll cause him to lose out on a little bit of time as well. Fabrice Cornelis, though, clearly didn't affect him too much because Cornelis is still losing time to Shane Norton. I'm trying to keep folks here because we see David Williams looking into Cunningham, not Cunningham corner, the hairpin turn, goes for the move. Will he get it done this time? Williams is there, and Janssen looking to get on the inside. Not quite there, but oh my goodness, this is so close here. Janssen looking again on the outside, coming into Cunningham corner. Not quite there, though. It looks like this position is in the hands of David Williams.
Yeah, Williams, who was so close right there and makes a brilliant move. So Janssen now demoted to 5th, but here they are through Tower, turn 13. Janssen can't find a way past as well. I'll tell you what though, Williams is driving splendidly right now, and he could find his way closer and closer to Moritz Lochner, who's remained untouched and unpressured in P3. Let's see now, Nolan, if Williams in P4, got about 4 seconds to Lochner in that 3rd position. Let's see if we can reel him in anytime soon. But Carl Janssen's looking a bit racy here.
And you can see Williams got a bit nervous. He went to the inside to look defensive, but wow, Janssen might be close. Whoa, little wiggle for Janssen on the entry to Sunset Bend, and for Williams too on the exit. As they get down, they're really beginning to put speed on. I'm not sure about Moritz Lochner. He's really been pulling away since the start of this. He's still pulling away. He's a good 4 seconds now, or just about 4 seconds ahead of these drivers. It really fluctuates a lot when you get off of turn 1, but it does look like he's beginning to slowly pull away. I think it's going to be a fight for 4th between Janssen and Williams.
Yeah, so Janssen still can't find a way past as well. Carl Janssen's been everywhere this race, of course, too. He started from 4th, been up and down, now in that 5th position for Cornelis. He's, well, something's gone wrong for Cornelis right now. He was supposed to be in that 6th position, but could be having technical issues. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, as well. Possible issues for Fabrice Cornelis. We will see shortly, Nolan, but who knows what's going wrong for him. We're looking at a replay right now for Fabrice. Here he is through the final corner. This is quite confusing right now. I'm not sure if Fabrice has just vanished off the screen into oblivion.
Well, it shows for me that he is still in here. He hasn't left the session per se. So I'm kind of looking around the track, see if I can find him, because that is certainly interesting. We do have Maximilian Benecke. He is beginning to lap drivers now, and Martin Kronke is right behind Jesper Drelica now in Sunset Bend. So they are beginning to lap these drivers. So this is where things get interesting, because now the GTE field is beginning to catch the GT3 field, and they're beginning to lap these drivers. So this is where we could get these multi-class incidents. I just noticed there's a cone in the fence in turn 1. I'm not sure if somebody kicked that up there or if that's always been there. It's the first time I've noticed it, to say the least. Yeah.
Well, cones in iRacing will be flying all the time. The thing for Janssen, though, you might find him in like 1977. It's like he drove back into the future. He just vanished off the screen. Technical issues for him, of course, as well. But he seems to be okay right now, so we're not sure what's going on at the moment. So some technical issues there, of course, too, for David Williams. That gap to P3 of Moritz Lochner, it was over 4 seconds. Now it's 3.8 seconds between the two. So there you see David Williams on screen. There you see Lochner head into the braking zone of turn 7, and they head through the right-hander, and he is slowly creeping in to that 3rd position. We are close to an hour through this event, just 5 minutes to go of this 2-hour, 40-minute race of the decade. Now, don't forget as well to donate to the links being posted plenty of times in the YouTube chat as well, and I'm sure David Haynes or somebody else will be posting that yet again. Battle for P13 continues here. Team David Haynes along with Craig Williams. And talking about David Haynes posting donation links, he's posting overtaking spots as well right now, if that makes any sense. And Craig Williams demoted there, Nolan, to the 4th position in that class. Or 5th position, excuse me.
And now Mitchell de Jong looking for a way past Craig Williams. Williams has kind of dropped off pace quite a bit here. I wonder if the tire life is starting to go. I am checking the track temperatures again. They're still hovering around 100 degrees. Of course, that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius. I would hope it wasn't Celsius. The track would be melting at that point. But yeah, so Craig Williams is he's lost a bit of ground to a lot of these drivers. Aaron Woodstra just found a way by him, as you saw, going to turn number 1. And Mitchell de Jong looking to close the gap and make up another spot.
Keep riding on board with Mitchell here. Let's have a listen to him. Working the wheel quite aggressively through Tower at turn 13. And here he is through this final sector now. You don't want to cut any of these corners. Through turn 15 he goes, and then 16 here. These are the corners where it's so easy to cut, but Mitchell now starting to be smooth. You can see his steering inputs, minimal correction there compared to the middle sector, and now starts to gain some time on Craig Williams. So that's a bit of a driving lesson for everybody out there, Nolan, from one of the best.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those cases where you can really use it. Oh, just about look to the inside of Craig Williams in the middle of Sunset Bend. That was really antsy. Not nearly close enough for turn 1, unfortunately, for the run down to turn 1. I am noticing we did have one car in the pits. Kevin O'Keefe just took a pit stop. Not sure if that was for damage or if he was going for his pit stop for a driver change. It's looking like it was more of that than anything.
Yeah, it definitely was a driver change. So Russell Klassen now in that car as well for Team Kevin O'Keefe, one of the popular YouTubers out there in the iRacing universe. So quick driver change for those two, and they're currently in P22 overall and down in that second class for the GT3s. But for the likes of Carl Janssen, look how close he is here to David Williams in this battle for P4 overall. There they are on screen. Around the outside goes Carl Janssen, but can he make a move here past Williams? Maybe with the up and under. Janssen on the exit. Williams is driving splendidly, I'll tell you that right now. David Williams, oh, what a great switchback from Carl Janssen there. The fake went for the outside, now up the inside. That's like doing a Euro step in basketball, Nolan. And Carl Janssen's just gone straight past Williams for P4. What a brilliant move.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Williams out of this fight yet, though. He was closing into turn 2. He's going to close the gap, and he's most likely going to get him back here in, I'd say, a good 2-3 laps or so. These two drivers have been fighting so aggressively since they caught each other, and it's one of those cases where I almost don't want them to hit lap traffic. I don't want them to be able to catch lap traffic, because they're probably one is going to be held up and the other one's just going to take off, and I don't want to see that. I want to watch this fighting, because let me tell you, when you see drivers going for positions like this in these types of zones, it can really affect the race. As we've got another car in the middle of his pit stop. That looks like it is now Shane Norton hopping into the car as he leaves his pit stop for another driver change.
Yeah, so Matt Malone jumps out, Shane Norton in for Team Matt Malone in the Ford, and they rejoin in the 9th position. It looks like, wow, how close is Kevin Ellis Jr. There he appears on screen, and Kevin Ellis Jr. was so close, wasn't he? He's in the GT3 car, so that's a different class completely right now. And he is, Kevin Ellis Jr. is second in that GT3 class, but for Shane Norton, he's already having some action here straight out of the pits, of course, too. For the battle between David Williams and Janssen, it's going to continue here in the Ullman Straight. Here we ride on board with David Williams as we scream up to 270 kilometers an hour. Williams searching for the inside, but defensive is Carl Janssen, sliding through Sunset Bend, and he keeps it together. How do you drive like that, Carl Janssen? Hey, I'll tell you what, he heads to the pit lane anyway. That's enough chaotic driving for Carl Janssen.
Oh, that was so tight, and I think Janssen was kind of looking for the pits, and that's why he was sliding. He was trying to get on the brakes a bit more, and that allowed him to get into the pits for sure. Also in the pits is Team Martin Kroenke with their Ford GTE, and Team, Carl Janssen is also in the pits as well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look through. Yes, the car that Fabrice Cornelius have been driving also in the pits as well. So you got a few drivers that are really in here so far today.
Yep, so Martin Kroenke's team has changed. Chuck Chambliss jumps into the car and he's out and away, exiting the pit lane right about now. And there he is on screen. So Chuck Chambliss jumps in for the first time today for Moritz Lochner's squad. Edward Lack jumps in to the Ford, and he will be out of the pit lane too as well. Linus Technow is into the car for Carl Janssen. So a change there, of course, as well for those three teams. And they continue away. But for the likes of Maximilian Benecke, he's on the Ullman Straight. He leads by 25 seconds ahead of David Williams. There he is on screen. Will Maximilian Benecke enter the pit lane this time round? Nolan, let's have a look.
I would go into the pits if I was Benecke, just because everybody else got into the pits, so they're on like fresher tires there with the driver change. Yes, he is going into the pits. Kind of a little close there, especially with the pit limiter, but just barely manages to get it down to, what's our pit speed limit? 45 miles an hour, it's looking like. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers. So I wouldn't know the math how to do that. Benecke looking for his first driver change of the day, though.
First driver of the day of the change there, and Benecke into the car. Car switched off. Here's the driver change as well. Vanishes off screen. How hilarious is that? Second driver will jump in, and it's Paul Ancliffe. And Paul Ancliffe will get his first car, well, seat time of the day is the correct terminology there. This is a very long pit stop. This is quite nerve-wracking, isn't it, Nolan, when you just sit in the cockpit awaiting to be released, and finally the car's lowered and they'll be ready to go to lead this field away.
And that will be that. Paul Antcliffe driving away in that first place now. Did he hold on to first though throughout the pit stop? That's the real question. I doubt he did. He might have a bit of work to do. This will be a bit of an interesting. This will be a bit interesting. Billy Fletcher now jumping into the car David Williams was driving just a few moments ago. So we're beginning to get a new set of drivers, completely new driving styles. How do you think this will play in?
Well, we'll see. Certainly pace is going to be different as well, consistency. This could really shape up this event. Let's see how quick Paul Antcliffe will be in that first position in Maximilian Beneke's car. This race could take a turn for the worse or a turn for the great, or for a championship possibly, for a race win here today for some of these drivers. Chuck Chambliss in second. So now that most drivers have entered the pit lane except for Team David Haynes, well, I say that, and they're currently, I think, well, there's certainly issues for Team David Haynes. I think they're making a driver change right now. David Haynes jumps into the car for the first time, of course, as well. So everybody has entered the pit lane this time round, except for Team Nim Cross. We're waiting for Nim Cross to jump into the car. Now, problems for Team Nim Cross as well. He's gone straight on into turn 7. He'll be on the right-hand side of the screen, I'm pretty sure there. There he is. And Tom Van Humen has had issues into the turn 7 braking zone. Let's have a look at this replay.
That is very unfortunate. Yeah, just missed the turn and went straight on. I'll tell you what, I can say it's better to do that than to like either A, drive to the back of the car in front of you, or run off the track and possibly spin around. So I guess a wise maneuver to go into the runoff. One thing that I find a bit amusing actually is the car is Bill. It was Bill that's taken over for David Williams. Different paint schemes on that car. We had like an all-purple car for when David Williams was driving, and now we got a VRS paint scheme that's driving out there in the 23 machine.
Yeah, so you can see different liveries being represented, of course, too. Lots of traffic for the likes of Martin Kroenke, who's currently in the second position. They're at turn number 1 right now. David Williams are watching on screen. Well, Team David Williams at least. Billy Fletcher currently piloting that car. So that's everybody into the pit lane. And like you said, Nolan, man, we talked about it. This race could change quite a bit for your leaders at the moment because of the different talent and the different personalities now in the car.
Yeah, remember when we saw Team Benicliff? They were like storming the start. That could all change. That could change very, very, very drastically with this driver change. We've got Team Moritz Lautner that's going, they're currently driving right now, and and he's off! And Team Moritz Lautner of that number 20 machine just went straight off, missed the braking point. He loses out there. He's back to 5th place. It's the exact same thing that the other Ferrari did just a lap earlier.
So there's Edward Lack under pressure, and for the first time now, that Team Moritz Lautner car has a lot of work to do in this race, of course, as well. They were in the 3rd position before the pit stops, now lost 2 positions, and that promotes Team David Williams to the 3rd spot overall and for class number 1. So Billy Fletcher currently pilots that car. He's got 11 seconds up ahead to Chuck Chambliss in the Team Martin Kroenke car. But there you see the pressure that's coming into play, Nolan. You need to get into a consistent mindset early in your stint.
For sure, you definitely have to do that. Oh, and Team David, oh my goodness, and Team Martin Kroenke really sideways through Sunset Bend. That was almost a complete disaster. That's Chuck Chambliss that's driving that car right now, and let me tell you, that was so close. Beautiful driving to hang onto that car. Look at that as the replay is now up on your screen.
Yeah, and he also has to make his way past a bit of traffic. Here's the replay once again. Chambliss, how does he save that through Sunset Bend? Brilliant car control. Well, ironically, it's not good car control that led to the spin. It was good car control to keep it together in a straight line, so credit to him. And it was Craig Williams in the other car, and the Team Craig Williams car is still piloting the BMW in the GT3 class. As we see the battle for 6 continues, they head into turn 1. Adam Tierney or Team Adam Tierney. Grant Crow currently behind Shane Norton for Team Matt Malone as they head through the first sector right now, Nolan. Look how close this battle's coming into play. They're going to head to turn 7-2. A brilliant overtaking opportunity for Grant Crow.
This was after Shane Norton lost out on ground. This was after Shane Norton gained ground on on Grant Crow. Through to number 1 is their side by side again. Going for the over and under is Grant Crow. Not quite there yet. He's going to have to probably make a move coming into Cunningham corner. It's either that or he's going to have to wait until the exit Le Mans.
Norton defensive though, heading into turn 10 at Cunningham. Brilliant driving from Shane Norton, and it makes Crow second guess any move he's going to make as they head through the middle sector right now. Into turn 13 at Tower, searching for the brake markers. How deep on the brakes was Grant Crow right now, who's jumped into the car for the first time today, just 10 minutes ago. And Crow now will have to get this move done across the Ullman Straight. Now, that's interesting. Did Norton cut the track there? We'll have to be careful of that. You don't want any slowdowns, do you, Nolan, heading onto the exit here of the Ullman Straight?
Especially we're fighting for a position, and I could have swore that was going to be a slowdown penalty, but apparently not. And you know what? Have at it, boys. Let's keep this race going. As Grant Crow continues to close the gap to Shane Norton along this straight, using the draft to his advantage. Will either of them get loose through here? Answer is probably not. The exit is going to be the real question. Coming up to an hour and a half left to go in this race, and I'd say it's about a half a lap or so. These could get interesting. Oh, here comes another lap car. That is Nathan Schartner. That's right ahead of both of these drivers. That could play into this fight pretty heavily.
Yeah, so that's Team Josh Thompson and Nathan Schartner currently piloting the car. Schartner's a very quick driver, but he could be in the way of these two. So we'll have a look at this for the moment's time, where that battle there continues between the two of Shane Norton and Grant Crow. That is the battle for P6 overall. Here's Crow now searching for a spot, but Norton defensive and can't. Well, Crow cannot find a way past to the 6th position. So we'll take a quick break here as Crow searches for a spot. Don't leave us. We'll leave you for RaceSpotTV fan immersion as we watch Grant Crow trying to fight his way past the driver of Shane Norton for Team Matt Malone. of the decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race presented by the My Opinion and Therefore Fact Esports Network. With all coverage today on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. What an event we've had so far. Let's have a look through your standings overall for both classes. For the first class, it's Team Maximilian Benetke, currently piloted by Paul Antcliffe in that car after our latest pit stop. He leads the field ahead of Team Martin Cronke, who that car currently piloted by Chuck Chambliss. David Williams has jumped out of his team's car, and that car is currently piloted by the driver of Billy Fletcher. Those are your top three for your overall leaders for this, the race of the decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race. For your second class for the GT3s, Team Jamie Fluke currently leads the field ahead, and that is currently piloted by Scott Newton, another Apex Racing UK driver. So I'm pretty sure that was coincidence between the two, but it's great to see those two paired up. In the second position, it's Neil Andrews currently piloting that car. Host, don't forget, of the My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast, along with David Haynes, who's currently racing, of course, as well. He was teammates with Kazuki and Mishima, who managed to climb that car all the way up to P2. Craig Williams is in the third position. No driver change yet for Team Craig Williams. Kevin Ellis Jr. and his team were in the second position for most of the race for that class, and they have fallen down to fourth. Danny Bates currently piloting that car. This is a battle on screen we've been watching, and it is heating up quite a lot in the past few minutes. We watched it during fan immersion. It includes the likes of Team Matt Malone's Shane Norton up ahead there in that blue, red, and white Ford, being pushed here by the Porsche of Grant Crow. How about Jimmy Broadbent for Team Jimmy Broadbent, looking for a move here into turn 7. Jimmy is quick. Jimmy finds his way past the outside. Jimmy eats up Grant Crow for that 7th position. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth, Nolan Rempel alongside me, Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production. Nolan, what a move by the ever-quick man, that's Jimmy Broadbent.
Absolutely, these guys, they have been really aggressive with each other throughout the entirety of this race so far. Another fight that we've got going on pretty soon up here is the fight for third place with David Williams and Carly Jensen. Billy Fletcher and Linus Chechnau. Excuse me for that one. They are within just 3/10 of each other now, but they're closing in pretty quickly here. So this could get antsy here. I was kind of monitoring this as we went to break, or it was either that or I was monitoring some other battle that I was not aware of. It was one of the two, I guess, say that much.
Well, so far, at least it's heating up at the moment, and Linus is close enough. Oh, there's the battle on screen continuing between Jimmy Broadbent here and Shane Norton up ahead. Two big streamers out there in the iRacing universe. Team Matt Malone versus Team Jimmy Broadbent. Have a look at Grant Crow, though, in the Porsche. So close. They are single file across the main straight. A peak there by Grant Crow, but he's a bit too far behind to get past that minty fresh livery of Jimmy Broadbent. What a great looking car.
The biggest question that I've got right now is, how will this play in? We are now in the last half of this race. So, when will we have our next driver change? Will we have 2 more driver changes or just the one? And how will this play into the finale for this race? As Jimmy Broadbent closing, goes to the outside of Norton, coming in for the hairpin turn. Oh, don't contact, and they touch each other through the hairpin corner, and they just somehow manage to survive that. Broadbent just loses out on that deal. That was so close, and it's still close. This is gonna end so bad for both these drivers as they come down here towards the Cunningham corner. Who's gonna win out here? I don't know at this point.
Tries to hustle his way past, but Broadbent remains behind. They head towards Tower, turn 13. And just nowhere through for Jimmy Broadbent right now, but he did try to hustle his way around the outside of turn 7. And it almost paid off, didn't it, for Jimmy Broadbent? But Grant Crow behind for Team Adam Tierney is also looking feisty. Up ahead of them, don't forget, is a car one lap down in the GT3 class. It's Sean de Hamel, who's in for Team Mitchell de Jong. He's currently being lapped by the 3. Look how close, though, Grant Crow is on the exit here on the Almond Straight. And this could be a side-by-side battle heading into the Sunset Bend. Who's going to end out on top?
It looks like Jimmy Broadbent was the winner of that deal to me. Exiting through the corner, he's got Sean Duhamel to work through, though. One of the lap cars. Duhamel going to, looks like he's just going to kind of move to the side and get clear of these guys. Probably a wise idea. I would not want to be being lapped by these guys just of how aggressively they're fighting each other. I'm kind of monitoring the other battles we've got. We do have a slight battle for could be for 13th place with Kazuki Umeshima, Neil M. Andrews and Craig A. Williams, currently running 13th and 14th, and right behind them, literally, is the battle for 3rd place as well.
Yeah, so that we're heading up here with an hour 20 remaining in this event. So don't forget, this race is all for a good cause as well. To the Make-A-Wish Foundation grants magical wishes to enrich the lives of children and young people fighting life-threatening conditions. The Make-A-Wish Foundation grants their wish and provides seriously ill children with hope for the future, strength to cope, and resilience to fight their condition. They're given quality time away from the daily realities of living with their condition, given the chance to make magical memories they can treasure forever. Whatever their future may hold, the Make-A-Wish Foundation wants to transform the lives of 1,000 children this year by granting their one true wish. So while the battles on track continue, Nolan, this event here for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, all for a good cause, a foundation which I've known throughout my lifetime, has really sparked up some great stories I still remember. There's a few that I don't want to mention because nobody probably remembers them, but there's so many kids out there that it's just so lovely to see smiles put on their faces as we see some moves here into turn number 1. Craig Williams being passed there, being lapped by a car ahead. But Make-A-Wish Foundation, like I said, giving children a breath of fresh air in their lives that they need.
And that fresh breath of air, it's exactly what some of these drivers will need for sure. Looking back now to the battle for 6th place, bit of a 3-way battle here. We'll set it down a bit, but as you can see, Jimmy Broadbent is now ahead of Shane Norton. So Broadbent finally managed to get that move done, and now Broadbent is under attack from Grant Crow. This could really heat up here. You've got 2 fire-breathing Fords versus a screaming Porsche, and this could make it interesting. You know, you got these, because the cars, although they're in the same class, and that's all well and good, just the way the car handles, I can imagine, is so different from each other. You got 2 different types of cars, completely different manufacturers, different drivers. It's ridiculous how many different factors there are in this series, and in the end, it can all come down to how good the driver is. And so far, these guys, they really prove that these guys really deserve to be out on track fighting for these positions just because of how aggressive they are, but how clean they've been while doing so. And while it got a bit messy between Jimmy Broadbent and Shane Norton, Broadbent did manage to get through, this time without any contact.
The Broadbent making strides, isn't he? He's currently in the 6th position. And he's brought a lot of viewers to this broadcast as well. Thank you to all you viewers joining us today. You've been brilliant as always, and it's great to see strong contributions as Broadbent, Norton, and Crow head their way through Le Mans turn 16. There is that beautiful minty livery of Team Jimmy Broadbent. He's starting to separate himself, isn't he, from Shane Norton and Grant Crow behind. Crow is looking for a way past here. The Team Matt Malone car. Up the inside possibly for Grant Crow. Just not enough though. He was confident, but just didn't have the speed to get past.
He's still looking to the inside all the way through Sunset. He's not going to be close enough now through turn number 1, but I feel like with time, just as we've been seeing again and again and again throughout this race, he's going to get it back. He's just got to be very consistent. That's all you need is consistency. Consistency and patience. Those are the 2 big words, especially in an endurance event. The battles up front have separated themselves by a good bit. Oh, never mind. We've got ourselves a bit of a fight here with Kazuki Umashima and Craig A. Williams. I have to get to tighten up just a little bit. Not enough though. I'm not sure where to go. Like, I don't know which battle is more interesting to talk about right now. They're both really interesting on how they've been performing throughout the progress of this race. It's a question as to like, okay, which one do I want to talk about more right now?
Yeah, Neil Andrews, currently piloting that car, host of the My Opinion and F4 Fact podcast, the podcast I've been on, Nolan, and it's certainly one that I'm a bit disappointed with the guys because they haven't invited me back on since, and I definitely want to be on within, I'll tell you what, within the next 2 weeks. I'll give them a deadline. If I'm not on by then, consequences will occur. I don't know, can you make up a consequence for me?
I wouldn't know what to tell you there. If any of the guys are on iRacing, I don't know, maybe bribe iRacing to give them a week ban. I wouldn't know what to tell you about that.
That's too light. A week ban's nothing. I'd say something more like, if I'm not on in the next 2 weeks, 10,000 push-ups and 5,000 suicides. Like, what's that movie called, Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson? Something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. I'm not sure I know the movie you're thinking of. Looking back to Grant Crow, still trying to work his way up to Shane Norton. He lost a bit of time on that last one, actually, but it looks like Jimmy Broadbent, he's being reeled in here. This could be a big move here coming to turn one. Norton looks to the inside. He's there. Will he get it done? No, not quite. Broadbent managed to hold out. I wonder if he got loose coming off of Sunset. It looks like that might be... Yeah, he got real. Oh, he hit the wall in the inside of Sunset. No wonder they closed the gap so quickly.
Yeah, it's so close between those guys. They're heading through the tight first sector here. Such a difficult first sector. And Crow into the first real overtaking spot after the first corner is trying to find a way past Shane Norton. He's been stuck behind for most of this stint. And Grant Crow, yeah, just no way past. So he remains in that 8th position overall. But it's good to see these battles still continuing here for the top class, because Crow and Norton have looked quick. Now don't forget, if Malone and Tierney re-enter those cars, those guys are pretty similar on pace as well too, you know, so I guess this battle will never end for the next pretty much hour and 13 minutes.
I was kind of looking at the field and I saw that through the turn 5 hairpin, Russell Clayson got a bit sideways. He was in the BMW in your GT3 field, kind of running all alone. I was looking through the field, and that's just something I noticed. He's got it under control, so that's the good news on that. I'm not sure what to make of this battle here. It really could be anybody's game. I will say that Broadbent has got to keep the car steady. If he messes up like that again, it's for sure going to lose him out on that position to Shane Norton and maybe even Grant Crow as well.
Crow with the inside. He takes such a tight line, doesn't he, through Sunset Bend. Look how much respect between the two here across the main straight. And Crow now enters the draft yet another time, but just no way past for Grant Crow. He takes such a tight turn in. Look how tight his line is compared to Shane Norton, who likes to unwind the steering wheel a little bit better. They head into the first sector right now, and Crow remains behind for another lap. So Crow needs to try something different, because right now pretty much nothing's working. So I don't know, he has to really search deep into his playbook to find a way past Shane Norton up ahead.
Well, I would say, when in doubt, this is again a strategy that I've applied to races that I've been in as well, and it's worked out all right. Sometimes it hasn't so much. When in doubt, follow the line of the driver ahead of you. One thing you have to be very careful about following the line for the guy ahead of you is if they screw up and you're following them, you're probably going to do the exact same thing. So you got to be very careful when you're doing so. But if it's in a turn like turn 1 where it can be so impacting on a run up to another corner, you might want to just take the time to follow their line. It might help you. You never know, you might gain some speed from it.
The leader overall, though, is Paul Antcliffe for Team Maximilian Benecke, and he leads by 30 seconds now. So the gap, finally 30 seconds over Team Martin Kroenke, and that car is currently piloted by Chuck Chambliss. Now, Benecke, Nolan, is the I don't know if it's changed. I'm pretty sure it's still the same, but he does hold the highest road I rating, as far as I know. And he's one of the best drivers out there in the world as we look at the battle between Andrews and Williams.
Williams getting a bit close here. I'm trying to... There we go. I just found... All right, I've oriented myself. There we go. Neil M. Andrews on the defensive, just about a quarter of a second or 3/10 down from Craig A. Williams. Right ahead of them is the battle with Scott Newton. We're driving for Team Jamie Fluke. I believe they are the leaders of this GT3 field, and this will be for a fight for second or third then the GT3 field. So, who will win out here? At this point, I'm predicting it'll be Kazuki Umeshima, who is just going to like pick up some pace. He's going to run away with it, I'm assuming. And of course, Craig Williams wanted me to eat my words as he closed the gap quite a bit in that corner.
Williams close there. That car was piloted by Umeshima. Now Andrews stepped in. So Andrews finally being caught by Craig Williams. I think Williams has a lot of pace here, but he's been in that car for over an hour, and fatigue maybe starting to settle in possibly for Williams. I'm sure the adrenaline is rushing there as we watch him virtually in the number 27 BMW. He's currently third in this second class, and they scream through this final sector looking for a move past Neil Andrews, but no way it passed for the three of them. So this is for your lead for the second class right now. Scott Newton in the first position, Andrews second, Williams third. They are separated by less than a second as they come across the Ullman Straight.
It could grow tight with these drivers. We've seen quite a few moves actually into Sunset, and some of them have worked out, some of them haven't. Again, Williams kind of going for an over and under, it looks like. Doesn't look like he'll be able to get it done, though. You're definitely right. Like, I'm beginning to think that, I don't know, I think you're right. Like, fatigue's been set in. He's been in that car for a good, like, hour and a half now. So he might have to consider a driver change at the next pit stop window.
Well, he has to, because the rules say, don't they, Nolan, that a driver has to drive at least a minimum of 45 minutes. So this could be the last, basically 20 minutes that we'll see Craig Williams in that car. So he's going to make the most of it as they run towards the hairpin at turn 7. He's a bit too far behind for a move here past Neil Andrews, but possibly over the next few laps he could find his way into the second position. How close is this with just over an hour remaining for your lead for your Class 2 victory in the GT3s?
I'm telling you, like, it's gonna get tight, especially when we get into like the last half hour, 15 minutes of the race. It'll grow tight, and it'll grow tighter and tighter and tighter until somebody eventually gets spun around. In fact, I'm actually surprised that with all the fighting we've had going on around the field, I'm surprised we haven't had more incidents. We've had like what? We've actually had like 2 or 3 actual spins throughout the race. Only one of which I believe we've actually been able to see. It's a bit on the fence on how things could go. Shane Norton Grant Crow has closed into Shane Norton, so they're fighting it out again for 7th place as they come through up towards Le Mans.
Crow is close. So they're about 10 seconds behind that lead for the GT3 class. Crow's been close for about 20 or 25 minutes and just has never found a way past. Is this going to be the time here as they head towards the Ullman Straight? Grant Crow with such a terrific exit here as they go alongside each other on the Ullman Straight. This is a position change for P7 for Class 1 and the GTEs. Up the inside goes Grant Crow, and this will be a brilliant move by Grant for that 7th position. And Nolan, finally, Grant Crow is through in that Team Adam Tierney car.
Yeah, finally managed to get the move done, and it was beautifully executed as well, right to the run-up from the Ullman Straight as well. I probably would have thought, though, that excuse me, looks like we got something maybe going on with the lead for the GT3 class, apparently.
Yeah, so these three on screen now fighting, and They were getting close through the first sector. Oh, contact as well. Newton almost turned around. Andrews there. Wow, Andrews there did have a tap with Scott Newton in that Team Jamie Flew car. And now the battle for the lead continues as they head through Cunningham. Deep on the brakes, they all go there. Rising over the curb is Scott Newton. But the three remain the same in formation in these top three positions. No position changes yet.
And you can see Edward Lack, he's flashing his lights at these guys to say, or he was just a second ago, he's trying to say, it's like, get the heck out of my way. Like, he's in the GTE class, so he's trying to get ahead of these guys so he can hopefully, and probably futilely, catch up to Billy Fletcher in fourth place. But look at this. Oh, here we go. Craig and Williams on the inside of Andrews, but doesn't quite get it done as they exit on the run towards Le Mans. Williams lost out a lot, deep on the brakes as they come onto the open straight once more. This could get tight here coming into the last corner. Team Jamie Fluke with Scott Newton going on the defensive all the way down to the apron of the racetrack. And right behind him is Neil M. Andrews on the run towards Sunset, and they're side by side. Not quite there. Williams trying to make a move. This is absolutely crazy.
So while this has gone on, Grant Crowe has had an incident and is possibly out of the event. So we'll have a look at the replay of that shortly for sure as the battle for the GT3 continues. Now trying to make their way past is Edward Lack for Team Moritz Lochner. He's in 5th position overall. He's lapping these three. And they need to be careful that no penalties occur because this is such an important tussle for the lead of Class 2. But Edward Lack's definitely frustrated at this stage. Look at him, just cannot get past the three drivers. They don't want to make his, they don't want to let him through anytime soon.
Well, if I were the GT3 guys, I would have let them through soon. Williams almost touches Andrews on the run up to the hairpin. As I was saying, I would not let that forward go because these guys are fighting for position here. And Williams deep on the brakes into the hairpin on the outside, and he's gonna get it done. It looks like. Oh no! And there is Jordi Maldonado that just about held these guys up. They're still side by side here, coming up towards the Cunningham corner. What is going on? They're still side by side, and of course, Lochner is going to be absolutely furious. Sorry, Edward Lack, he's going to be furious at this point in just a moment here, as Williams still side by side. Oh, there's another door bang. There's a door banging going on with Dylan Andrews. Oh my goodness, what is going on here as they come down towards Le Mans?
Williams has been in that car for over an hour, but has lost no thrills and is having more spills more than anything right now. He's getting so argy-bargy, isn't he, with Neil Andrews? Can Williams find his way past it to P2? He just can't get it signed, sealed, delivered. And while this is all going on, Scott Newton in that blue BMW will lead this field away for the GT3 class now by 2 seconds. Andrews close behind as well. Edward Lack frustrated, flashing the headlights here on the Ulman Straight. But Andrews through Sunset Bend, finally the battle starts to settle in, and Andrews remains in P3.
That was so tense throughout that entire lap. They were like side by side for half a lap there, just about. That was absolutely insane what we just saw. And beautiful job of Williams to get that done without causing an actual spin. That might have resulted in the penalty if he did. Now, will Andrews left by Edward Lack, or is he going to keep him behind him and try to work with Craig A. Williams? Because the thing with Edward Lack is, yeah, like he's trying to get through these guys, but he's got like, I'm trying to just look up here. Yeah, he's got 14 seconds to the next guy, so he's probably not going to catch him. And Lack's got 8 seconds back to the guy behind him, so he's probably not going to be caught anytime soon either. So it's one of those cases where I would just say let these GT3s race.
Yep, so while this is all going on, oh, this is the replay for Grant Crowe. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, okay, that's just hilarious. So Grant Crowe's had some sort of technical issue, like a stuck throttle almost, or something wrong with the wheel, and he's gone straight on at the hairpin at turn 7. This is quite a few laps to go before the battle for the lead for GT3 took place. So this is for Team Adam Tierney, and Adam Tierney, who's currently in that car at the moment, well, it's in the pit lane anyway. He's ready to go right now. Adam Tierney's sitting in the car because I can hear it rev in the pit lane, but he cannot exit right now. There is so much damage to the car. They have one fast repair, of course, Nolan, available. And there he is, Adam Tierney, waiting. Well, he's not patient at all because he is slamming the throttle pedal right now, raring to go.
I don't blame him. And I think what happened in the other incidents, maybe it was just one of those cases where, yeah, like maybe it looked like the entire wheel disconnected because the wheel just stopped turning and and Edward Lack has just spun in the sunset bend trying to get around Neil M. Andrews, and that's unfortunate. Oh my goodness, and that was way too close for comfort for me, and that will lose him out now to Shane Norton.
The replay's on screen. Let's have a watch through this. Let's have a listen.
He just got on the brakes too aggressively trying to get around Andrews, and it just sent him right around. Like you guys, right there, it looked like it was the engine braking, spun the car around, and then look at how close this was here when these cars came out the exit. Oh, that was way too close for comfort for me.
You can see they just lost the car completely, and then, oh goodness gracious, wow. No contact in the end, and Nolan was clutching everything, and so was I here in the commentary booth, back live with just over an hour remaining in this event. Oh my goodness, have you seen closer incidents? I've seen closer than that, Nolan, but that's almost as close as you can get without some contact.
I'd say so. One thing I am noticing is, remember how we were talking about how there might not be a whole lot going on up front? Well, that's about to change here, it looks like, because Team Carly Jensen with Linus Technol driving that number 92 machine, he's slowly but surely being caught by Chuck Chambliss driving for Team Martin Kroenke. They're about 1.3 seconds apart from each other now. So we could have ourselves a good old fight for second place here in just a little while.
So with under an hour remaining, we will look at your standings for both classes here today. And for Class 1, it includes the likes of Team Maximilian Benecke. They've led every lap of this event. It is currently piloted by Paul Antcliffe, who leads by 25 seconds ahead of Team Carl Jansen, who's found their way past Chuck Chambliss in the Team Martin Kroenke car, and that was Linus Technol, who's in the second position. So position change there for that second position. Team Martin Kroenke demoted to third. For the GT3s in Class 2, Team Jamie Fluke has been untouched in the first position. They were almost overtaken by the likes of Craig Williams and Neil Andrews, who are second and third respectively in that class. And the battle for that lead is creeping down now to less than a second. Yet another time with Scott Newton under immense pressure at the moment. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth alongside Nolan Rempel for today's event. Hugo Luis behind the scenes in production. You're watching the race of the decade, Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Just under an hour remaining for this event, Nolan, and that battle for the lead again, like we said, is continuing away between the three GT3 cars. I'm ready for round two.
I'm ready for round two as well. We've got just under an hour remaining now. So this could form up to be an interesting sight to see. Craig A. Williams, he is closing to Jamie Fluke, less than a second away. And there's, of course, 1.7 seconds back to Kazuki, to Neil M. Andrews, who's still trying to fight his way out there. I don't think he's going to be able to get there anytime soon, to say the least. And all of these guys, they're catching Fabrice Cornelius pretty quickly as well, who's in the middle of who's, I think, the back marker for the GTE field. So we have just under an hour to go. We've still got another pit window. At what time on the clock do you think we'll be seeing pit stops occurring for driver changes, for the last driver change of the day? Because I've already seen a couple of guys going in, actually.
Well, we know Craig Williams has to enter the pit lane in the next 12 minutes because the driver enters that car needs to have 45 minutes of seat time minimum to comply with the rules of this event. So the minimum driver time for one stint is 45 minutes. Any less, and yeah, you will be disqualified from the event here of this 2-hour, 40-minute race of the decade. So possibly around that 45-minute mark, I'd say, Nolan. Maybe. Some other drivers will be different, of course.
At at least for Williams, it's going to have to be at the 45-minute mark or earlier. Oh my goodness! And something just happened there, and Scott Newton got really sideways, I think, and that allowed Williams to go right around the outside of him, coming down towards the turn 5 hairpin. That was incredible stuff. Now Williams is having to defend against Scott Newton. I'm going to see if I can look back and see if I can figure out why Newton lost so much speed.
Scott Newton, for the first time for Team Jamie Fluke, does not lead this race for Class 2, your GT3s. Let's have a look at the replay and find out what happened. Let's have a listen to this. Just pour on the throttle on the exit. No traction for Scott Newton there, Nolan. And it looks like Team Jamie Fluke will not reclaim that first position in the GT3s. Well done to Craig Williams. He's getting quicker the more time he's spending in that car, despite him being in the car for about an hour 40 minutes at the moment.
Well, this is going back to what we were talking about, how it's one of those races where you're going to improve as the race goes on, and that's what we were talking about. That's what's we're being able to see that now with Craig A. Williams driving for that car. My only concern is that the other driver's going to be taking over that car. He hasn't had a lot of seat time, so will the replacement driver for Craig be able to take over? Will be able to keep up the pace, or will Williams have to put some time on to hopefully compensate for that?
To Williams, half a second ahead now of Newton, and untouched. Neil Andrews, though, in third. We will ride on board with him and bring you some RaceSpotTV fan immersion here with just under an hour's left in this, the race of the decade. Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race presented by the My Opinion and therefore Fact Esports Network. So welcome back to the race of the decade, Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race, presented by the My Opinion and Therefore Fact Esports Network and podcast. All coverage today, of course, is on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth alongside Nolan Rempel for today's event. Hugo Luis is behind the scenes in production. You are watching a battle on screen between Team Jimmy Broadbent's German Afanador, who has made a pit stop, who is making their way past the driver there of Team David Haynes, trying to surge past David Haynes, who has yet to make his second pit stop in this event, but Haynes is defending quite well here with just over 50 minutes remaining. Great switch back there from Afanador. What brilliant action to come back through on the break. Other pit stops as well. Nolan. I'm talking to Hugo, a producer here. But Maximilian Beneke Nolan's entered the car for overall leader. He's made his second pit stop, along with Martin Kronke, who's back into his car, ready to hunt down Beneke for the lead.
Yeah, and this could be interesting, but I don't know. I'm still not sure how this will look. It looks like he may have just had a bit of a problem, actually, because I just looked at... Oh, never mind. That was why I was playing tricks on me. I thought he just got passed by one of the GT3 cars, but I was wrong. He's trying to find a way around. Maximilian Beneke trying to find around Jean Brunet in his BMW. And he's trying to close the gap into second place of Billy Fletcher, who's just now going for his pit stop. First place is currently Linus Technal, and he is running strong up front. I think he still has yet to take his second stop as well, so that could come into effect.
So certainly more battles coming into play in this, of course, as well. We're watching Scott Newton there right ahead of Neil Andrews for second overall in class number 2. That battle was quite spectacular, wasn't it? And the battle for the lead will continue there. Craig Williams still has not jumped out of that car. He's got a few more minutes remaining. I'm pretty sure he'd have to come into the pit lane according to the rules, so I'm not sure that's all going to work, but he makes his way past there. The driver of Jean Brunet in that Team Fraser Williamson car. Remember that candy car, Nolan? Well, there it is again on screen. But the battle for the lead with Williams there, 2.5 seconds ahead of Scott Newton in second. Scott Newton now hounded again by Neil Andrews, who can't find a way past.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about what things are going to look like for that team with Craig and Williams driving in it. I think he's probably got a lap at most in, and then he's got to come into the pits, if not this time, just because he's got to come in at some point. You cannot stay out there forever in a race like this. The rules clearly state that each driver needs 45 minutes of seat time. So unless he's the only driver that's signed up for this race in his team, which I would assume that's probably not the case, he's going to have to find some way to make that work without losing too much time. Scott Newton currently on the defensive from Neil M. Andrews now. This is actually pretty tight. There's a bit of a cluster going on here. We got the fight right ahead of them as well with Fraser Williamson and Jordi Maldonado. I take that back. They are a lap apart. I just saw that on my timing screen here. So that's a bit of an error there. Scott Newton trying to find his way around these guys though. And nope, Craig stays out for one more lap. It's going to be tight.
So while that's all been going on, David Williams is into the pit lane, and Team David Williams car enters the pit lane, and David Williams is back into the car. All these names are confusing us so much, but Billy Fletcher has completed his stint and is now in the Team David Williams car, as we see a battle on screen there between Russell Classon in the Team Kevin O'Keefe car ahead of Sean Duhamel in the Team Mitchell de Jong car. Here they are on the Ultimate Straight, Nolan. So many names to say today.
So many different names to say, indeed, and it's one of those things where, you know, we get used to it after a while. Oh, we got a slider coming up to Le Mans, and that is Jonathan in the number 15 car just spun his car around, and he's going to be under pressure now. Oh, that's the leader right behind him, too.
Yeah, that's the Team Jesper Dralica car, and that Well, watching the replay right now on screen as they head through the final sector and just binned it all on their own, didn't they? That McLaren had no chance at the moment, and that was at Le Mans as well. A corner that we've seen, well, coming to Le Mans, a corner that we've seen so much trouble over the past 2 hours since this race began. But for the meantime, David Lee Patterson joins us for a mid-race interview. David, can I tell you something? It's been a while since we last spoke. I want to apologize. It's 5 a.m. in the morning here, and I think I called David Haynes, the other podcast host, thinking it was you for some reason.
No, there's a little difference between us, that's for sure.
Yeah. How's everything been so far? This has been quite a successful event. I mean, I'm not sure how successful you thought it was going to be coming into today, but all this planning from months ago and now into so many viewers, it's been quite a success.
It's been in the planning since about February, so it's been a bit of a going at. But I never expected some of the big names to turn up. You know, you ask these guys that are, you know, that go out and race for a real living. You've got Mitchell de Jong there. You've got some really big names here, and they've all gracefully given up their time to raise some money for charity, which has been absolutely fantastic. So fair play to them guys.
Can I ask you something? And this will be a very difficult question, but would you change anything running this event next year in terms of the event format, the types of racing? Because we've had such a great event so far. We've had a lot of action, and the on-track action's been thrilling. But is there anything you coming up and thinking after watching this, going, "No, you know what? That could use a bit of a changing next year."
It's not so much the cars. I think I dropped the McLaren. We've had a few issues with the McLaren spinning and not behaving to the liking of it, which has spread the racing out. But the cars, I think, were a great choice. I think the track was a decent choice. I think the only thing that would possibly change would be the way in which we go out who we pick with which driver. So in terms of donations and that sort of thing, I think we're gonna make it a little bit more interesting and making it a little bit more auction-like for next year. So it's definitely going to be a yearly thing, though. We're definitely getting people back in, that's for sure.
Can I also ask as well, so this is all for a good cause too, for the Make-A-Wish Foundation as well. How did this all come about in the planning for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and getting them involved with the event?
Well, we knew that we wanted to make an event. We didn't know how the best way to go about it. Now, with our work, you know, what we do in real life, we do a yearly charity event, and you know that goes really, really well. And we thought, do you know what? Let's just do a charity run. Let's make it so that we can raise some money and more importantly, get some money raised for them kids. So we thought, yeah, that's a great idea. And then we thought, well, who can we get involved? And now, if you look through the lineup, we wanted professionals. So this is what we called them, and we called them professionals and celebrities. But there's some names in here that have never driven with each other. You know, you don't often see Matt Malone with Martin Cronkite. You know, that's they're names that you don't see together. So we wanted to bring together people that weren't necessarily running in the same rings. We wanted to put them in one arena and see what happens, essentially. Well.
Yeah, I like that as well. I mean, the fact that Maximilian Benecke is out there as well. I know he's. To be honest with you, as successful as he is, as we see Danny Bate enter the pit lane from that Team Kevin Ellis Jr. car, I think Maximilian Benecke is up there for one of the greatest sim racers of all time.
Yeah, he really is. He's an absolute alien. He was the first person to say yes to this. The very first person.
Ooh,
we threw it out there without any sort of organisation. There wasn't even a plan on the bit of paper. But what we did know is that we wanted Max to be in whatever we were going to do, and we asked him. He said yes straight away, and he's been a strong ambassador for us. To be fair, he's brought along a lot of his teammates, and he's really made the event better. So fair play to Max.
And talk about the podcast too. We haven't had a chance to speak about that. Any new upcoming episodes coming shortly? How's it all going with that?
The podcast's going really good. We've had a lot of the guys that you're seeing on track on the podcast. We're going to start a new feature called The Debate, where we're going to get 3 to 4 professional celebs, YouTubers, streamers, what have you. We're going to put them in an arena within the podcast, and we're going to throw a subject at them, like maybe the balance of power, or maybe, you know, changing your view within sim, especially within the LMP1, to be in the centre of the car, so that you're getting that little bit of advantage. You know exactly where that car is every time you put it on the apex. So then the sort of little things with a collection of people, and just seeing where it goes, you know, seeing what kind of opinions and ideas people throw out there.
And anyone you want to thank? I know we haven't covered who you want to thank in preparation for this event, but yourself and the whole crew, of course, as well, of the My Opinion and Therefore Fact Esports network, which, by the way, probably not the time to discuss it, but I remember we discussed how you came up with that name, and it was also pretty it was a pretty good story, by the way. Very simple story, but still a great story. But anybody else you want to thank as well in preparation for this event?
Yeah, I mean, you got to thank Andy. You know, Andy's the other podcaster within My Opinion, Therefore Fact. We really got to thank the guys for showing up and coming out. You know, from the pros, you know, from your Max Beneckers to your Martin Cronkays, to, you know, you've got Nim Cross Jr. out there. He's an iRacing official, and, you know, he's been behind this event, and iRacing has been behind this event. So we've got to thank them, and more importantly, the people out there that are done it in their hard-earned cash towards such a worthy charity. So, you know, we've got to thank them, and you guys as well for broadcasting this thing, for making it such a great event. And well, thank you all.
Yeah, so Andrew Botterill and David Lee Patterson, who you're just hearing. Andrew is his co-podcast host, and they host the My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast. And it is a successful podcast out there in the esports and sim racing universe. David, thanks for joining us. David Lee, excuse me. Remember we had this discussion? I said, is it David or David Lee? It's DL. DL Patterson.
Yeah, it's DL Patterson. Yeah, I always say, people say, what's your name? I say, no, it's David Lee, and people automatically just call me Dave. It's a weird one.
By the way, who are you supporting out there?
Who am I rooting for? I'm going for Craig A. Williams. I'm rooting for Craig. Craig's my man. He's a good guy. He did all the setups for us. You know, he's got Craig's setup shop, and he did all the setups for us. And I'm proper rooting for Craig to win. So even though I've got my own podcast team in there, I want Craig to win.
Yeah, can I ask this before you go as well? I keep saying last question, but this is genuinely the last question. Why is Craig still out there? Aren't you supposed to have two drivers drive a minimum of 45 minutes, or is he allowed to drive all on his own for this entire event?
He can drive all on his own this entire event. We did try and put in some driver times, but we withdrawn them last second, so we could get in a couple of extra guys through organisational, shall we say. We had to pull that out to make sure that everyone had a good time out on the track today.
Aww. Well, anyway, that's it. That's David Lee Patterson joining us in the booth for a mid-race interview right now. Podcast host of the My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast, which you can catch out there in the esports universe. Nolan, back to you now. There have been a lot of updates over the past 5 to 10 minutes or so. Update us through it all.
We had a couple of incidents, actually. For one, just after we started the interview, about 4 laps ago, Dom Parks, he spun in the middle of, I believe it was Collar Curve. So he spun and backed it into the tire wall, trying to get himself sorted out. I'm not sure if we have a replay on. I'm not sure if we have a replay available or not. And then also coming into the pits, we also had another issue. Not exactly an entire spin, but it was definitely a nose-to-tail contact that almost spun one driver around. It was Nathan Shartner just about turned the same Dom Parks entering the pits. Dom Parks made a late call to go to pit road and almost got turned again because of it.
Yep, and Kevin Ellis Jr. on screen has had a spin there, and this was coming out of Le Mans and heading onto the Ullman Straight, bang into the wall. And the front end of that BMW, I think his day's done, Kevin Ellis Jr. He may have to use the fast repair if they haven't already used it, but goodness me, the entire hood ripped off the BMW there, and the day just keeps getting worse for Team Kevin Ellis Jr.
And I'm listening to the engine right now. He's in the pits. He's actually having to coast to the pits because the engine cut out on the exit of Sunset Bend. So he's literally coasting it to the pits because he doesn't have an engine at all. Will he make it to the his pit stall, though, is the real question. I think he's going to be able to make it just. There he goes. Oh, we had another
fast repair. Oh, we had another incident. Sorry, go on.
Yes, we did. Alan Day just spun in the middle of turn number 1. It looks like, oh yes, it was contact, possibly from German Afanador, that spun Alan Day into the tire wall in turn number 1.
So while that's all going on, it looks like Dakota Fripp leads the field away as we see the spin on screen there. And that for the number 21. Dakota Fripp leads the GT3 field ahead now of Scott Newton in the Team Jamie Fluke car. So with Craig Williams' pit stop, Stephen Kempson enters the car. So finally a driver change there, of course, as well. And another incident at Sunset Bend. Nolan, update us through it.
Yes, this time it was Fabrice Cornelis that went for a bit of a long slide through Sunset Bend, managed to somehow hang on to that Ferrari. Didn't lose out any positions because of it, but of course he is fighting now with Craig, not Craig Williams. Craig Williams has stepped out of his car. Stephen Kempson has just taken over for Craig A. Williams, and he's trying to hunt down Fabrice Cornelis now.
Yeah, so Cornelis has had, well, an abysmal day. They should be a lot higher than this. Started in 6th. We know what's happened to Cornelis. Had a few slowdowns. There's a spin on screen. So close to the tire barriers at Sunset Bend. But for Cornelis, 13th overall right now. Finally in the pit lane goes Dakota Fripp in the Team Lewis Goodway car, along with Scott Newton in the Team Jamie Fluke car. Now, will Jamie Fluke re-enter that car? Now, that's important. Yes, he does. So Jamie Fluke will be a mad screaming driver in this final stint as we see the Team Jimmy Broadbent car also in the pit lane.
Yeah, Jamie Fluke, he was also one of the competitors in the oval races. So this guy is really good at the oval racing. He's been doing a decent job here at Sebring as well so far throughout the majority of this race. This is one of those incidents where it can really depend. Of course, we actually say Lewis Goodway is going to be the first out of the pits. He's going to beat Jamie Fluke by a decent bit. Fluke revving the engine like mad, trying to get out of the pits. We can see right up front, German Afanador is now back in the Ford GT in that mid car up there. So he's exiting the pits as of now. We're in the last half hour of this race now, or we're just approaching the last half hour of this race. So things could tighten up here. How do you think that things are going to play out here, Johnny?
Well, you never know. With half an hour remaining, aggression's going to come into play. Kazuki Umeshima is going to come into play. A whole lot is going to come into the equation right now. Mitchell de Jong jumps in, back into his own car there. And so a driver change for those as well. And as I was talking about Umeshima, he is also in the podcast host car. The Lux Sim 24, my opinion, an F4 Fact podcast car, which you can see there. And I'm sure Andrew and David will be quite pleased to see Umeshima piloting that vehicle as he hunts down Jamie Fluke ahead. So this is going to be an exciting finish to this event. Your overall victory, it looks like one hand on the trophy is with Maximilian Benecke. But how about that GT3 class? It's getting quite close, Nolan. That's what we're waiting for right now.
I think we're going to be seeing a much closer finish in the GT3 class for sure, because Benecke, I believe he said he was back in his car, so that's of course going to mean that Benecke is just going to storm the field and just run away with it. Yeah, he's already up to first place again by 31.5 seconds and still climbing away. He's now going to lap other drivers within the GTE class. So these types of incidents, they can, or like these types of situations, they can really dictate the race. And Maximilian Benecke and his team, they have absolutely dominated the race, except for the couple laps where they have pit stops. Oh, we've had an incident, and it's Grant Crow that has gone off coming up to Le Mans.
So Crow's had a few incidents. Here's a replay on screen, and currently P23. Let's have a look at this. This is through the final sector. And the Team Adam Tierney car has had an awful day right now. I don't know what's happened there. Grant Crow onto the grass, and I think there might be some technical issues because that is a very bizarre incident. But Grant Crow over the curbs, beaches it, and then smack bang into the tire barriers. Day done there, Nolan, for Grant Crow.
That is so unfortunate. Grant Crow, he was providing us with a really good battle earlier on in this race. I'm trying to figure out what happened there myself. I think it didn't look like it was a technical issue because the wheel was still spinning. I have an idea. I have a bit of a theory here. Maybe he just got onto the grass, and since he's going so fast, just couldn't hang on to it.
Yeah, possibly. So we'll wait and see, hopefully. Maybe Grand Crow should come in for an interview and let us know what really went on behind the scenes there. 30 for 30 on Grand Crow. But nevertheless, Josh Thompson joins us, who is driving in that Team Josh Thompson car. And Nathan Schartner currently pilots the vehicle. So Josh is out of the car right now. And Josh, talk about your race so far. You haven't been in that car for quite some time, but how lucky are you to have a driver of the caliber of Nathan Schartner to pilot your own vehicle?
I don't know how to manage it, to be honest.
It's all luck.
He should be the pro driver.
Oh, don't sell yourself so short. How's the race been going so far?
Steady away, really. Basically the GT4 class, as we've put it, because the Macca is just nowhere near as competitive as the BMW or the Ferrari. So we were just like, we knew that with our lineup, we could do quite well when the drivers switch over. But I think everyone kind of clocked onto that and then put all the best drivers back in. So we're back to stalemate, really.
And for you as well, personally, you just moved to Movano Racing. It's new, exciting times ahead for you in 2019 and beyond. What's the team been like as well? Because Movano is one of those teams that have, I think, been on a bit of a decline over the past few years, but now starting to revitalize themselves with the likes of signings for drivers like you, for example.
Yeah, it's been quite good, actually. Obviously, I only joined them recently, but been working quite hard with them, prepping for things like SEO and stuff. But no, the actual team is really good. I enjoying it there, enjoying the commitment and like how hard they work. So flat out testing for Neo and other things. So yeah, really enjoying it so far. Just got to wait now for the F1 side to announce what we're doing, and hope then I can crack on with that.
Yeah, you're going to be in, if there is a Pro Series, who knows what is going on with the F1 Series. I have no idea what's going on with that series anymore. But you'll certainly be racing in that if there is one, right?
Yeah, 100%. So that's one of the main things. I'm going to be basically starting up the single-seater side again for Movano. There's a few things that we're looking and planning for, so hopefully it should work.
Have you, by the way, are you going to jump into the car back in for this race?
No, why would I? Nathan's like half a second better than me.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
So to be honest, I wasn't even supposed to race this car. I got told I was racing the Macca on Thursday. I was signed up in the BMW, so I was loving life. I'm like, I like the BMW, I can drive it around near the front, no issue at all. Comes to Thursday, get a message, yeah, Nathan's donated this because he wants someone to race the Macca with him. I'm like, I'll do it, man. Didn't realise it was going to be this bad.
No, you've done the right thing now, though. You've come on for an interview and you've explained yourself, so now you look a lot better.
Yeah, that was always a plan. I think everyone knew that when they saw the team announcement.
Oh, God. The self-deprecating Josh Thompson, who is a lot better than he's making himself out to be, joins us in the commentary group. Anyone you want to thank, by the way, for your team before we let you go?
Yeah, so Nathan, for starters, he's done a fantastic job. To say that the car's not how he wanted it, he's done a mega good job. David and everyone from the podcast and all the drivers really who's turned up for this. It's been an absolute awesome event. And you guys
and the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes, I was getting on to that. Calm down.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation and everything for this. And you guys did the broadcasting because the race has actually been really good.
No, I appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. That is Josh Thompson from Movano Racing. We'll speak soon, Josh, by the way. There could be,
yeah, I'm waiting for the date for this. I'm waiting for the date still.
Josh Thompson will be on the Simon Racing Report hopefully soon. And he will be ready to not be as self-deprecating, ready to think about himself a little bit more there. So that is Josh Thompson, who pilots the Team Josh Thompson car. Nathan Schartner currently in that vehicle. They are in P15 overall for this event. And Nolan, back to the racing so far. We're currently riding on board with Jamie Fluke, who is hunting down Stephen Kempson in the Team Craig Williams car right now. He's got half a second to make a move ahead, but just cannot make his way past at the moment. He's just going to bide his time here with 26 minutes remaining.
Now, we've been at this for just over 2 hours now, and I will say, like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time in comparison, but 26 minutes around this track, that's still quite a bit of time to make up time here. I think, like I've been saying, like, so much throughout the race, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record at some point if I keep saying it, but I'm gonna say it again here. You got to be patient. did Craig just cut the track? Or sorry, did Stephen Kempson just cut the track there? It looked like he might have. Guess not though, just no slowdown penalty for him. But like I was saying, you really have to be patient in order to work your way up, especially at a place like this and a race like this. And if he's patient, he's going to be able to get here, as you can see right there, close out like a good 3/10 on that straight alone.
Jamie Fluke is ready to pounce here. And this is for an important position here in the GT3 class up ahead. Lewis Goodway in the Team Lewis Goodway car currently leads the field away right now. Fabrice Cornelis splits him, but Goodway in the BMW is about 10 seconds up the road. So this pass for Fluke, he needs to get it done ASAP here with 25 minutes remaining, depending on whether Goodway ends up pitting again or not. We'll wait and see. But Fluke now on the exit here through 5 and 6 and on towards the braking zone of 7 has an opportunity to climb past Stephen Kempson.
He certainly closed in a lot there, because we saw through that entire section, Kempson was incredibly loose as Fluke tries to dive up the inside. Will it get there? He's there, but he's not going to be there, and that just sent Kempson right around into the wall, and his day, his race is over.
Well, he continues away anyway, but probably with a lot of damage, so his day could be done, depending on how much damage he has to that car. Just a bit too throttle happy, as you can see there on the replay, and straight into the barriers too. Impaled into the barriers is Stephen Kempson. And the Team Craig Williams car was going so well, and I know David Lee Patterson will be quite disappointed with that as well, supporting that team along with his own podcast car team ahead of Kazuki Umeshima, which also makes his way past. So Kempson continues, Nolan. The only other driver through, apart from Fluke, was Umeshima, as we see a battle for P17.
Yeah, that was such an unfortunate incident. They were having a good scrap at it too, but it's just one of those incidents where, you know, you get a bit antsy on the throttle. You know, you want to get away as quick as you can, and it's one of those classic mistakes that everybody makes at one point or another, and it just came and it bit him hard. As we look now with Timo Gorlic and Mitchell de Jong fighting it out now for P17 within half a second of each other now. You can see the delta closing a bit, 3/10 now, just under 4/10. Oh, they're getting pretty darn close off these corners, so it's going to be close here between these guys. We could see another of those same types of incidents.
How close de Jong is. Could send it possibly for a move here. You'll probably have to wait for the Ullman straight. I think that's more rational, of course. De Jong in that Coanda Simsport car, who is having a topsy-turvy race, is Mitchell de Jong. Been all over the place and could finally make a move here for P17 on Timo Gerlich. Gerlich on the defensive here, heading into Sunset Bend. Wow, is de Jong confident on the brakes. Goes
Very
really deep.
Ooh, that was a bit close there. De Jong closing the gap, just about spun them both out. So good job on de Jong for keeping out to him. Looking to the outside now of turn number 1. Is not going to be there though. Can he go for an over and under coming into turn number 2? Ooh, and that, oh boy, Gorlich goes right off, and de Jong is back on his outside now.
Certainly contact between the two there. And they're still alongside each other here through the first sector. Oh, sliding and door banging there through the exit of turn 5, but de Jong ends out on top. Gerlich though, hats off to him. In the Sindre Setsas and Timo Gerlich send it car. Doesn't send it into turn 7, but hats off to him nevertheless, Nolan, because man, was he brave in that battle.
Oh, he certainly was, and let me tell you, like, he was certainly brave on the brakes for sure, going into Sunset Bend. In that final corner, did a good job of trying to hold de Jong off, but de Jong did win out that fight in the end. What are you thinking for a fight for the lead for second place in your GTE field? Carl Jensen and Martin Kroenke, haven't seen a whole lot from these two guys. ever since about the halfway point, but they're still within a second and a half of each other. So Jensen has now pulled out a bit, but Kroenke's holding steady and clearly trying to close the gap, but I don't know if he's got the pace to do it in time.
I think Kroenke now in that car, and no disrespect to Chuck Chambliss. Chuck Chambliss did a remarkable job in that car when he jumped in, but Kroenke is one of the greatest sim racers of all time, and if he's in that car, he's going to find a way past the driver in front for sure. Maybe not Beneke, but at least Carl Jansen up ahead, and that's what's important right now for Martin Kroenke. 1.2 seconds the gap. He's already reeled in a few tenths on this lap so far. They head towards turn 7. Nolan looks good now for Martin Kroenke and the Ferrari. He's getting closer and closer by the turn.
Yeah, this could be interesting here. We'll have to keep one eye on this fight for sure this entire time. Another race that could become a fight here is the fight with Kazuki Umeshima. We've just had a car go right off. David Haynes just took a bit of a shortcut through the corner, and he's actually going to have a slowdown penalty for that. That was exiting Le Mans just now. Bit of an he overstepped his braking point, it looks like, but as yeah, like Kazuki Umeshima, he's beginning to close the gap to Jamie Fluke a bit here.
So this is going to be close because that is your battle for P2 in the class. Team Lewis Goodway, as you can see at the top of the screen, leads the GT3 class. Team Maximilian Beneke, they're not going to be touched for P1 in the GTE class, and they will probably win if all things go well in these last 20 minutes of the event. But for Team Lewis Goodway, they look good now. Dakota Fripp is out of the car. And no pun intended, but Goodway is on the road to potentially a victory here as we see a move out on the racetrack here. But there is the Team Lewis Goodway car on screen in the BMW. Nolan, and it's been a good race from them so far. They pitted about 7 laps ago, so they should make it to the end of this event.
Yeah, they should be able to make it all right, and this could... I'm just concerned about some of these drivers. I've been seeing quite a few people getting loose through the corners, and I hope we don't have any more incidents because I really love seeing these guys fighting it out so hard. Currently, the closest fighting is between Carl Jansen and Martin Kroenke, who Kroenke now within a second of him actually, so he's closing a lot in the past 5 minutes. So we could have ourselves a good fight for second here. Kroenke really deep on the brakes, closes in a good 10th in just that one corner alone.
Kroenke looks good. He's looking to make a move right now, and that is the battle for P2 in that class. So for Goodway in the GT3s, while we watch Kroenke on screen, he's been caught by Jamie Fluke by about 1 second per lap, and at this rate, Fluke will catch him on the final lap of the event. So we'll keep an eye on that for the lead of your Class 2 race for the GT3 field. But for the GTE field, E for egg. Kroenke in the 3rd position now, 0.8 of a second behind Carl Jansen. He's creeping closer and closer, 10th by 10th, lap after lap, with just 17 minutes remaining. We ride on board with Jansen, and we look behind the Ford right now from the rear end and look at Kroenke hunting him down, Nolan, across the Ullman Straight. He just needs to take the slipstream, right? Is there anything else he can do in this situation?
Well, no, actually, there's nothing else you can do. If you step out of the slipstream on these straights, which are really long, by the way, they don't seem long, but that a little bit can make a difference. But, oh, we've just had someone that spun around up there. You just saw him on your camera against the inside wall. Oh, dear. It was for Team Alex Sadler again, with Alan Day spinning that Ferrari around once more.
So troubles for them. They're in P22, and they are the last car out there on the racetrack in the last position. We don't count Team Adam Tierney or Team Taylor Bookout, who are out of this event earlier on due to separate incidents, of course, as well. But look how close Kroenke is creeping in here to Carl Jansen. Kroenke started this race on the front row in the 2nd position. Carl Jansen from the 2nd row in the 4th position. Both these drivers have driven splendidly, but this event is not yet completed. as Kroenke edges closer and closer to Jansen right now. Kroenke is a driver who Nolan, as much as he leads a lot of races he's been in, he still has tremendous racecraft when you think about it. So I'm looking forward to a nice scrap between both himself and Jansen here.
Well, I've enjoyed really watching him in the iRacing World Grand Prix Championship Series. He's such a great driver, and I dare to say that, and this is going to be a very bold statement from me, but when it comes to the road course side of things, especially in single seaters, I'd almost say he's threatening to knock Gregor Hutu off of his throne as the greatest road course sim racer of all time. We can see here that he's definitely closing in a lot. He's within half a second now, so he's closing in a ton. He's got the pace. He just needs to utilize that when he actually gets up to Jansen, or it's not going to get him very far. The one thing you don't want to do is get overly aggressive and spin your car around, because at this point in the race, if you spin out, you have no hope of getting it back.
No way. And the funny thing is, by the way, Gregor Hutu, Nolan, it's up for discussion, but I reckon before he had his 5 world titles in the Grand Prix series, as Kroenke gets closer here to Jansen, I reckon he was still the greatest of all time before that. Like, it was like he didn't even need the 5 titles, but the 5 titles have backed him up. So Kroenke, who raced in other sims, of course, for iRacing as well, he's got a lot of work to do, but you're right, he could knock him off that throne.
It's certainly beginning to look that way, and again, we're seeing all the talent that Kroenke has being used. He was like, what, like 3 seconds back at the pit stop window, or even more, actually. I think it was like, this guy was actually like 13 seconds back, or at least this car. It was like, what, 13, 15 seconds back, like, I don't know, an hour ago? And now he's like 3/10 away from him. So it just shows that Kroenke's got so much pace, because he's just that good at what he does.
Certainly is, and now he's going to try and find a way past Carl Jansen for P2 overall. With just under 15 minutes remaining, he's been stuck behind him for a few laps here, but this is the closest we've seen Kroenke back in, reeling his way through for that second position. He's driven with Chuck Chambliss today, and both of these drivers have driven splendidly. Look at that car, it just is undamaged and looks great. The Commander SimSport new livery for 2018 on display, but for Jansen up ahead, is it day done for P2? Can he keep this together for the next 13 laps or so? Carl Jansen, the Radicals Online driver, has the final corner to defend here. Kroenke on the switchback. Oh, this is just going to happen momentarily, isn't it?
It's got to be one of those split-second decisions you got to make it. Here goes Kroenke, is going to get in behind him. If he can get the slipstream, he can go around him into turn number 1. Going for a look. Nope, not quite there. He's going to stay behind him and maybe try to get a good exit off of 1 and run him up on turn 2 or even into the turn 5 hairpin. Ooh, and Jansen goes off a bit there. So that could also impact things. Not too much apparently though, but Kroenke is right on him. They're jumping over the curbs like mad. And Jansen, you can tell, he is struggling to keep in front, but he is doing a great job of keeping Kroenke at bay.
Right, he's struggling, but he's still keeping him behind, so that's important there. And while that's all going on, we thought Jamie Fluke was going to hunt down Lewis Goodway in the Team Lewis Goodway car. I don't think that is going to happen. It looks like Team Lewis Goodway out of nowhere today should win the GT3 class, because Fluke now is being hounded by Kazuki Umeshima. The last thing that Jamie Fluke needed, and this is the battle for P2 in Class 2. So 2 battles for the second position in Class 1 and Class 2 respectively right now. Look how close Umeshima is. Now heading through Le Mans, turn 16. Screaming through the right-hander is Umeshima, and on the throttle early. He's pushing Fluke to the limit. These are 2 rivals that race in the Grand Prix series, and they continue today in this charity race.
Oh, this is going to be so close between both of these classes. I'm trying to watch both of them at once here. There goes Umeshima to the outside, out to the inside, and Fluke inside was Fluke's bended in the sunset bend, and that is such a shame for Jamie Fluke, who had it all and then lost it just like that.
He'll be kicking himself, Jamie Fluke. Luckily, no damage for the Team Jamie Fluke car. Just some rear end damage to that car so far. but he should be good to continue this race in the 3rd position regardless of that. He's got the likes of Nathan Shartner and the Team Josh Thompson car. We spoke to Josh Thompson earlier, who's representing that team. They're 7 seconds behind Jamie, so he's got to worry about that. Otherwise, he should be on the podium, of course, as well. Look at Martin Kroenke now in the battle for P2 overall. Through the first sector, Carl Janssen goes. He's so confident turning in, but Kroenke is ready to make a poised pass here, heading into the turn 7 hairpin. Lap car ahead there of Stephen Kempson. That's in the Team Craig Williams car. Hopefully he's not in the way here of this scrap.
Oh, I really hope it does. I'll be kicking myself if Kempson ends up breaking up this battle. He's got some heavy damage, so he's probably going to get out of the way because he's still got heavy damage from his shot to the wall about 10-15 minutes ago, I believe it was. Jansen's being held up now because he's trying to find a way by. He's going to get it done here, coming into that corner, but that will allow Dijon to close in a bit. But he's put some distance on Jansen. Jansen's now 4/10 apart. It's fluctuating a little bit, but it's looking about 4/10 or so, 4.5 tenths. So you never know. I wonder if Kroenke has the pace that he needs in order to get the spot back. We only have 10 minutes left of this race.
Yep, just under 10 minutes remaining as we ride on board with Kroenke here through the end of the lap here, through Le Mans, turn 16, the right-hander. Let's have a listen to Kroenke here on the main straight as the engine screams up to 280 kilometers an hour. Oh, spinning!
Oh, no!
Carl Janssen, and with under 10 minutes to go, the pressure built up by Martin Kroenke has forced Carl Janssen to bin that car at Sunset Bend. Here is the replay on screen, and just a little too hot is Carl Janssen through that final corner, Nolan, and that means that Martin Kroenke now promotes himself back into the 2nd position.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. That almost hurt me. Like that almost physically hurts to see that they were doing so well at keeping it clean, and then just like that, it just all gets tossed away, and that just proves that the pressure that builds up with these drivers. Because keep in mind, like if this is like one of those short races that you usually see, like the rookie or D-class races, it'd be fine, but this is a 2-hour, almost a 3-hour race. So these guys, they've been at it for a good 2.5 hours already. So you want to hold on to the position because it's just like, I've worked 2.5 hours to keep this. I don't want to lose it in the last 10 minutes. And the pressure just got to him, and just like that, thrown away.
Yeah, so that's the last thing you want in that situation, isn't it? And it's unfortunate for Carl Janssen, but look at the bright side. He's got a 12-second gap with David Williams in the 4th position, and Janssen should at least be on the podium. Now that driver ahead is a lap car there, Stephen Kempson in the Team Craig Williams car. I'm not going to let him through any time now. Janssen's getting a bit impatient here through the end of the lap here, through Bishop, and then turn 15, and then 16 of Le Mans. The right-hander, finally Janssen makes his way past. So that's your top 3. Now back to the battle, remember, between Umeshima and Fluke. Now this is interesting, Nolan, because Umeshima was 1.5 seconds faster than Lewis Goodway last lap, and he's only 6.5 seconds off the overall lead for that class.
Yeah, he's only 6.5 seconds, but all the same, like just the way that these cars are set up, I don't know if he'll be able to make up the spot. I genuinely don't think that he's got the time that you would need in order to make the spot. You've only got exactly 7 minutes left. That means you'd have to make up like a good second every minute, and I just don't see him doing that. I'm greatly sorry to Kazuki Umeshima, but it's just the track and the cars. I don't think there's any way you can do it.
Wait and see if there's anyone right now in this grid. It has to be Umeshima, so we'll see if he can get it done. But right now, 6 seconds the gap. It's creeping into 5 seconds. It's getting closer and closer in the remaining stages of this race. There's Lewis Goodway. The gap on screen now. It just popped in there as we flicked away from the gap. I saw it flick down to 5.9, so it's getting closer and closer. There it is again, 5.8 seconds, 10th by 10th, corner by corner. Look at the last 2 laps. About, what is that, 3.5 seconds in 2 laps for Umeshima. He's going to need more lap cars getting in the way of the Goodway, and he should find himself into that first position. Maybe Goodway's having some trouble with fuel as well. We should pay attention to that.
Oh yes, that's right. We cannot forget this could very well turn into a fuel mileage race at some point. But yeah, you're right. You're right, actually. Umeshima is closing quick within 5.5 seconds now. He's closed in like a second and a half in this lap alone. What is happening right now with Lewis Goodway? Where is the pace that we saw earlier? Like, I'm looking at Goodway, and I could see Umeshima just exiting Sunset and crossing the line as Goodway goes into turn 1. He actually might catch him and pass him if this becomes a battle. This could actually be a very, very interesting last 5 minutes of the race.
Yeah, this is important right now. A good way. 5.1 seconds the gap now. Oh boy, is this heating up. The overall lead, as we said, the top 3 positions, pretty much all signed, sealed, delivered. Beneke first, Kroenke second, Janssen third. Then we have David Williams in the 4th position for Team David Williams. And then Team Moritz Lochner in the 5th position. He piloted that car along with Edward Black early on in this event. Your top 5 for your Class 2 race for the GT3s included Team Lewis Goodway, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. 4.6 seconds now ahead of Kazuki Umeshima in the more, my opinion, and therefore fact podcast host car. Jamie Fluke is in the 3rd position, followed by Josh Thompson's Team Josh Thompson car. Nathan Sharp is currently piloting that. And then Team Craig Williams' car is in the 5th position. And that includes Stephen Kempson, who currently pilots that car right now. Jean Brunet had a spin down the order. That was in the Team Fraser Williamson car, so didn't get in the way of anything. Of course, there they are on screen. Jean Brunet, 11th in the GT3 class as well. But the gap now 4 seconds to Lewis Goodway in the 1st position. Umeshima can see him up ahead visually.
Yeah, this could be very close, and of course, Goodway was backed up quite a bit by Jean Brunet because Brunet had just spun in the hairpin, meaning that when he was still getting up to speed by the time he caught him, and I saw that as just as you did. Umeshima, really wide exit there. That was just about a disaster. Less than 4.5 seconds now. He's going to catch him by the end of this sprint. He will catch him.
It goes to show that Umeshima is pushing here in the remaining 3 minutes of the event, and he wants to catch him. Whether or not he passes him is a different story. Now, Jamie Fluke will be kicking himself, Nolan, won't he? Because he was ahead of Umeshima, and he just binned it all on his own. He should be, technically, going for the class win here.
Yeah, that is... that's still just so painful to think about that. It was just one of those mistakes that happens when you get put under pressure, and it unfortunately came to bite him. You can see Umeshima's times at the bottom of your screen there on the bottom right. He's made up like a good 4 or 5 seconds in the last lap. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Yes, about just over 4 seconds in the past 3 laps. So this is ridiculous, the amount of speed that he's putting onto the car in front of him.
2.5 minutes remaining. One class is pretty much all settled. Another one. Plenty of racing action here to go. Umeshima's looking hungry. Will Goodway take out the victory? Will Jamie Fluke maybe come out of top in the dark horse in that Team Jamie Fluke car, the number 49? How fitting would it be, Nolan, for that Lux Sim 24 MOATF podcast car to win, considering they are technically the hosts of this event?
Well, I wouldn't know what to tell you about that. I wouldn't care who wins so long as we can have ourselves an interesting finish. I am noticing that delta there between the 2 drivers, it is beginning to steady out a bit here. So, I'm not sure. I'm beginning to have my doubts again. Oh, never mind. Closest in another few tenths off the exit of Sunset. But, I don't know. I don't think he's got the time. He's definitely there. You can see him visually now everywhere, but I don't know what to tell you. This could be anyone's race at this point. Any little, even the slightest little wobble from Goodway will cost them that much time and will allow Umeshima that much closer to victory for your GT3 field.
Just over a minute remaining. This race has been quite entertaining so far, and it's yet to finish right now. 2.5 seconds between Goodway and Umeshima. Can Goodway get it done here? The two BMWs hunting each other down into the turn 7 hairpin. Are you nervous right now? Would you be nervous if you're in Goodway's position, Nolan?
I would be. I'm rubbing my hands here. I am nervous, to tell you the truth. I don't know. It could be anybody's race. And remember, this looks like it may be the last lap. We might have 2 to go, but possibly the last lap. And Maximilian Benecke is just exiting onto the straight now, running up to Sunset Bend. He's got 20 seconds on the clock. Will he beat the clock to the line, or will we have 2 more to go at the line, or will it be 1? This could be the last lap of the race as he gets around that BMW in your GT3 field with Kevin Ellis Jr. 8, 7, 6, 5 seconds left. It looks like it'll be Maximilian Benecke to win this race.
Maximilian Benecke now. This will be the final lap of the event. And he comes across the line. White flag waves finally. And you were right there, Nolan. It was coming close, whether it be 2 to go or 1 to go. But we confirm it there. White flag waves for Benecke. And he comes through the first sector with some traffic up ahead. Boy, that got a bit hair-raising, didn't it? That was Alain Day, the Team Alex Sadler car, is he going to get out of the way? Finally out of the way here. But Maximilian Benecke remains in the first position. So we'll keep an eye on Benecke here and watch him, but we'll also keep an eye on that Goodway and Umeshima battle, which Rempel, Mr. Nolan Rempel, will watch alongside me in the commentary booth right now. Less than a second, the gap between those two. But for the likes of Maximilian Benecke right now, he has driven splendidly this race. He has a few more corners to go right now, and he will potentially win this, the inaugural Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race for the first time, presented by the My Opinion and F4 Factor Esports Network. Here's Benecke through the final few corners. And while that's all going on, Goodway and Umeshima, it is half a second between the two of them. There's the gap on screen. There is your battle for the GT3 lead here as they come closer and closer through the first sector. They have a full lap to go right now, basically half a lap to go even. Umeshima is going to push him. He could get it done into the Sunset Bend.
This will be really tight here between these two drivers. Meanwhile, Maximilian Benecke, they're 1/10 away with each other. They come up and make the move to the wall. This is going to be crazy.
But Benecke, though, comes through the final corner. He will win this event here. And it looked like a lead change was going on. So Benecke is the winner of the Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race through the Ullman Straight for the final time. Go Umeshima and Goodway. Umeshima now pushing Goodway all the way to the wall right now. That's the pressure that Umeshima's piled on Lewis Goodway. Final corner for the race victory here. And it looks like Kazuki Umeshima's got the move done here. Final corner, final lap. Kazuki Umeshima wins your GT3 class for the Lux Sim 24, My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast car. What a race finish between those two. He left it to the last minute. And Lewis Goodway will be kicking himself after driving so splendidly in that final stint. But burnouts for Umeshima. But for the likes of Maximilian Benecke, Nolan, he will win your inaugural Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race. What an event it's been from Benecke so far, Nolan, and a well-deserved victory. So we see replays of that final lap pass for Umeshima around the outside. What a way to do it.
That was pinpoint driving from Umeshima right there, and oh my goodness, that was so close at the line. He had one opportunity, and he saw like a slight opening, and he took that and used it to his every advantage. what a finish! What a race! That was by far, that was one of the best races I've ever been able to broadcast so far. Let me tell you, it was so special, that finish win, especially for the cause that this race is for. And I can predict some really good things for this race and maybe even this series.
Well, there was Umashima on screen. That's a remarkable finish. One of the best finishes to a race I've ever seen. Umashima leaving it to the last minute. And I know, Nolan, you were shaking your hands and getting quite nervous. But for Umashima and the crew there, of course, as well. Now, don't forget, Kazuki Umashima was joined by Neil Andrews in that car. And both of those drivers take out the class victory. For Beneke's team, it included the likes of Beneke and Paul Antcliffe as well. But final thoughts on the Umashima victory, Nolan, before we head to the results.
Oh my goodness, I can tell you this, it was a really intense finish, and I can say that Umashima, he'd also deserved that win with the brilliant overtake, literally the last possible turn in this entire race, and that's when he made the move. Pinpoint driving from all of these guys out there today.
So let's have a look at your final race results for the race of the decade, Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race. Maximilian Beneke along with Paul Antcliffe win your overall race victory here today by 35 seconds ahead of Team Martin Kroenke in that second position. Rounding out the podium was the Team Carl Janssen car. Morris Lottner's squad had quite a good event so far. I'm not sure what quite happened to them in the last hour and a half as well, but they just dropped off the pace. David Williams was close behind there in the end, and David Williams' team could have taken that fourth position away from Lochner, but nevertheless, the Porsche, the top highest finishing Porsche there, ends up in fifth. Team Matt Malone ended up in sixth ahead of the mintily fresh Team Jimmy Broadbent car that included Jimmy Broadbent himself and German Afanador, who drove that car across the finish line. Team David Haynes ended up in eighth. Rounding out the top 10 was Tom Van Humen in the Team Nim Cross car, along with Fabrice Cornelis. Cycling down through the order, this is your second class results here, with Kazuki Umashima leading and winning that class 2 race ahead of Lewis Goodway there with a pass in the final couple of corners there at Sunset Bend. What a move it was around the outside. Just quite a fitting and thrilling finish to end their event here today. For Jamie Fluke, he'll be kicking himself. Without that spin, could he have won the overall class victory for the GT3s? Who knows? Nathan Shartner ended up in fourth in that Team Josh Thompson car. Stephen Kempson piloted the Team Craig Williams car to fifth overall in this class so far. The rest of the results are on screen. We will speak to Jamie Fluke and Scott Newton, who are dragging into the channel right now. Can we start first of all, Jamie, with yourself, who surely you'll be kicking yourself after that spin late in the race, because you had a chance to win that event, considering Kazuki pulled off the move with just one corner to go.
No, I had no hope at all. I was on old tires. Kazuki was much quicker than me at that point in the race, and it was just a last-ditch roll of the dice to try and hold him off. I would have had to have pulled that defense off another like 6 laps, and I wasn't quick enough to catch the leader, so I really wasn't too bothered. It was just sort of hope for the best and try and keep Kazuki behind me, but I don't think it was ever going to happen.
Can we bring in Scott Newton as well? And can I ask you guys, did you rig this or something? Why are 2 Apex Racing UK drivers, Scott, both in the same team? Surely you paid off an extra donation to get that done.
That certainly wasn't the case. I just happened to pick the BM, and I think that was the way that the dice rolled. And yeah, I don't have a pro license of any kind, so yeah, that's the way it rolled, to be fair. And yeah, I was certainly happy to have Jamie as a teammate, and yeah, stoked about that, to be fair.
Can I ask, first of all, back to you, Jamie, right now. You led most of the early stints as well. So what happened there towards the end? Why did your team end up losing so much pace?
Not sure. Car felt okay first stint. Managed to pull a bit of a gap, but we had a bit of a tough time through traffic in the second stint, and yeah, sort of fell back a little bit from there. And then Scott unfortunately got a 15-second speeding penalty on the way into the pits for that last stop. So we had to roll the dice then right at the end by not taking any tires, because otherwise we would have been absolutely nowhere. So we had to try something. It almost worked out, but it just wasn't to be in this case.
Got anything to say about when you jumped into the car as well? You seem to be quite comfortable in the car, nevertheless. Do you think you could have gone a bit faster out there? But you did have a very long stint, about 30 laps in the car, where, like I said, you looked comfortable out there.
Yeah, cheers, Johnny. Actually, right before this race, I was in the Williams FW31, so there was no time to really sort of adjust to the car. But I did practice for about an hour during the week, and yeah, actually the pace during the race was a lot better than what I did in practice. So I've got a lot of experience in the BMW, and thankfully that showed today.
Does the Williams still exist? Do people still drive that, Scott?
Oh yeah, there's a hosted league. There's no official series that iRacing put on, so unfortunately it's leagues, but yeah, thankfully there is one going on. It happened to clash with this, so it was kind of a bit of a lose-win, in the fact that I caught the bump at turn 1 at Watkins, and that's how I made it to the start of this one. So
well, there you go, everybody. Jamie Fluke and Scott Newton, who piloted the Team Jamie Fluke car, who both also coincidentally Apex Racing UK teammates out there. Thanks for joining us today for this event, of course, as well. Anyone you want to thank before you go, guys? I never asked you that, by the way.
I think for today we'll just leave it with massive thanks to the MOATF guys for hosting this and getting us all rounded up to, get this event going and hopefully raise a whole heap of money for charity. So yeah, I think that's the important thing here today. So massive props to them, guys.
Anyone else, Scott?
no, it's the same sentiment as what Jamie said. I just wanted to thank the MOATF guys for putting it on, and for everyone that turned up, both for the guys that are on the track and also the guys that watch the broadcast back as well. So yeah, hopefully we raised a lot of money for charity, and it all went to a good cause. So cheers.
There are Jamie Fluke and Scott Newton, as we said. We are going to be joined by both Lewis Goodway himself and Dakota Fripp, who are alongside Nolan Rempel for post-race interviews here today. And unfortunately, Nolan, for those two, passed on the final lap, final corner for race victory for the GT3s.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was definitely. It seemed like I almost thought that you guys would have the advantage on the inside of Sunset Bend, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And of course, we saw that the Luxem 24 machine did manage to pass you by, Lewis, on the exit of the corner. Could you talk us through that last lap? What your thoughts were?
Well, I was braking it because he was right behind me, but I thought I had it until the last lap, and then he came like a steam train, and I had really bad tyres because we double stinted them. So the last corner I braked as late as I could, but I didn't want to hit him. It was all fun.
Well, despite the bit of a heartbreaking finish as you described it, you got your team never set a qualifying time, so you started right at the back of the field and ended up finishing in second place in your class. That was actually really special to see. Could you walk us through that?
Yeah, it was good. Go ahead, Lewis.
Go ahead, Dakota. No, you.
It was good. I think I saw. I don't know how all of Lewis's first stint went, but then I didn't make the go because I was supposed to go in with another car, but I went ahead and missed the start, and I think Lewis just missed the qualifying, so we were both without a teammate. It looked like Lewis was going to do it by himself, so I went ahead and joined him, and it looks like we made up that time, kind of like in the middle stint, and then towards the end, just with that double stinting. I don't know if the other I don't think the other two guys did that, so kind of ended up bringing us to the front, I guess.
Well, despite this very, very impressive performance by both of you two, before we let you guys go, do you have anybody you'd want to shout out today?
Yeah, to the organizers, the MOATF, those guys for organizing this. I know it was like a lot of months out. Maybe it was like in the summer, sometime then, that they took to organize all of this. And I'd like to thank Lewis for letting me hop onto his car, and for Craig for making the setups. That everyone that was the race was a fixed setup to Craig's setup shop, so I'd like to thank him for that. And yeah. Thank RaceSpot for broadcasting, because that definitely brings in the viewers to have more information about the event and about donating for the kids. So
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for donating mainly, and the people who organised it. You've done a great job, and I want to do it again next year.
Yeah.
That is Lewis Goodway, and I believe, sorry, I'm trying to find the list here. Yes, it is. That was Lewis Goodway and Samuel Doughtury.
And Dakota Fripp, wasn't it? You might be reading the wrong name there.
Oh, yes, I did. I am now seeing that.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying on my paper here. I must have the wrong paper. So sorry about that, Dakota.
Yeah, no worries.
That's today's election paper from Melbourne, Australia, which we had to vote today. If you didn't vote in Melbourne, Australia, you're going to receive a big fine from the government. But anyway, that is Nolan Rempel with Dakota Fripp and Lewis Goodway. We're going to speak to David Haynes before we go as well, our final interview for the day. David, are you still there, David, by the way? I'm not sure if he's there at the moment.
G'day,
We're
how
hoping
we doing?
so. Oh, there we go. David's here. You came home today, David, overall in the 8th position. You had a good race so far, but I can tell you what, that final stint for you drove for, was it about 2 hours long? Just under 2 hours long? How did you manage to do that?
Two coffees, one for driving the car and one in case I had to talk to you.
Oh, I feel valued now. How'd your race go apart from that?
Yeah, so I had my my donator start the race. He did a full stint, and unfortunately I was, you spun it on the first lap, but hey, that's how it goes. It was a pretty tricky setup for us. You had to be really gentle throwing it into the corners, otherwise the back would absolutely come around, like you even saw on the broadcast. But other than that, it's good fun to race in a one-off event like this. And later on in the race I was feeling pretty quick. It's just a shame we weren't at the start.
Can I also ask you as well, did you have any chance of overall victory here today? Do you think that was just out of reach, regardless of whether or not you had been in the car the entire time? Because Owen, Woodstrow was pretty quick out there, to be honest with you, for a donator.
Yeah, I absolutely think if we'd had me in for the whole race, I would have absolutely stood a chance against Maximilian Benecke and Mitchell de Jong and those guys. I think, when we stand shoulder to shoulder, maybe they've got like 1 inch on me, but I reckon I had their match. Yeah, of course.
No, I'm not sure. Are you being sarcastic there? Or are you being serious?
No, those are massively quick guys. The total I rating in my car was about half of Benecke's. So, yeah, it's good fun to be in a race with those guys, though, because I typically wouldn't be.
So there you go. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go for today's event?
Yeah, of course, I have to thank everyone who donated to the cause. I've just seen after the race the amount of money that we've raised, and it's phenomenal, far and away above my expectations. So everyone who donated to drive in the race, everyone who was watching the stream and donated, everyone who donated watching any of the other streamers, I think those people are the real MVPs of this race today.
So that is David Haynes joining us, who drove in the Team David Haynes car along with Owen Woodstrow, and they came home in the 8th position overall for today's event. We're just about ready to wrap up here from the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. Nolan, final words before we go as well. It's been a successful inaugural event for the Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race. Maximilian Benecke ended up winning overall overall for today's event, along with Kazuki Machine with that final lap pass. But it's good to see some thrilling racing action throughout the field.
Well, we had a lot of action going on throughout the entirety of the 2 hours and 40 minutes, so I was certainly not disappointed. Dominating performance by Maximilian Benecke, and of course, an incredible last lap pass by Yuko Shima.
So that is it for today's inaugural Race of the Decade Make-A-Wish Foundation charity race that was live on the RaceSpotTV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network as well. Thanks to the My Opinion and Therefore Fact Esports Network and podcast for their support of today's event, of course, too. For more information on upcoming races, visit the RaceSpotTV website at RaceSpot.tv, as well as the iRacing website, iRacing.com. Thanks to all you viewers for joining us for today's broadcast. I'm Jonathan Simon alongside Nolan Rempel for today's event. Hugo Luis was behind the scenes in production. And thanks, of course, to our production team of Istvan Bello, Andreas Werner, Simon Grossman, and Nick Thiessen for all their hard work behind the scenes. Because this has been a RaceSpotTV presentation broadcasted on the iRacing Esports Network. We say so long from Sebring, and we'll see you shortly for more exciting action on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network.